Well, as Chris Voss once said, when the pressure's on, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your highest level of preparation. And that is why you're here, because we provide the best level of preparation possible as we enter the final week, unless you're in a stupid week 18 fantasy league. If that's the case, yeah, I called it stupid. What, you want to fight about it? Tough. This should be it.
Big whoop. You want to fight about it?
In my home dynasty league, we used to play a 2-week championship game with a final week. We played double when we go all the way to the last week, and it eventually, after like 3 years, got voted down. People were like, this is ridiculous, especially the teams that weren't deep in a huge league. People were like, can we get rid of that extra week? So we got rid of the extra week. I will contend, we might get this later in the show, we might need to start moving this thing back 2 weeks and not have championships the last 2 weeks with how brutal it is with all these guys sitting out and all of a sudden last second IR designations. It's pretty ridiculous, as I'm sure we'll discuss on the show, of how many guys are scrambling to replace in championship third place games, or like me, in a bunch of toilet bowl championships.
Yeah, you didn't expect it to have the adverse reaction of teams that are no longer in contention, realizing that the future of their franchise, if they're remotely injured, is better just to have them sit out. Normally we worry about these teams that are already clinched playoff spot and seeding, and they sit and we worry about that. But now it's on the flip side, good old NFL, which I get it, $1 billion industry. You want to protect your investment. I understand, but think of us for a change. I mean,
Yeah.
You got fantasy lives at stake. There's dollars on the line, not, so be it if it's millions in the NFL. I mean, it's equivalent to us. But millions to a billionaire is the same as hundreds to us not billionaires, except for Jorge. Jorge is the billionaire of the group. Thank you for all your contributions to Fantasy and Frames. Speaking of that, if you want to add to his billions and you want to get your question answered first, take part of the super chat, and maybe Jorge will take you on a ride on his Fantasy and Frames jet that he puts the money towards. Most likely he won't. He is super greedy with the jet and only.
Yeah, that's only.
I keep trying to tell him to come pick me up and take me to Vegas, but he just keeps denying.
Well, maybe I'll surprise people at their various local airports for a New Year's getaway. Let me hit the news and notes thing, because we got a couple things to talk about. 1 second. All right, that's exactly the sound drop I needed to hear to wake me up a little bit more. So if you're Max Crosby and you're a Raiders fan also at the same time, what are your thoughts on him and Pete Carroll having a discussion like, we're shutting you down, I want to get out of here. Okay, get out of here. And then like 2 days later, he posts a video where he's jumping on a trampoline and shooting hoops in his house's, basketball court. And then all the reports come out that, he's going to need an off-season knee surgery. And then it just so happens that coincides with the Tank Bowl with him, with the Raiders and the Giants. Like, obviously, as fantasy managers, like, we're pissed if we play in IDP leagues and Max Crosby is not, but from just like a fan standpoint, like, is this the beginning of the end of Crosby in Vegas, or is it, I don't know, it's just, just two sides not seeing eye to eye currently, but they'll get that resolved relatively quickly.
Hey, Jorge, maybe you can answer something for me on that. To me, I was having a hard time deciding. It seemed like they wanted to shut him down and he wanted to play.
Right.
And that was the argument. He was like, no, I want to play. And they're like, no, you need to get surgery in the offseason. You might as well sit. Am I getting that right? He wanted to play. That was they were like, no. Because like, to me, if I'm a competitor, I understand like the long run, like idea of like, hey, don't hurt yourself, get good. But you also have like a very finite amount of games in your career. Like I would never have wanted, even like, obviously not playing professional football or anything like that, but I would have never, regardless of the game and injury, I would have never wanted to miss a game in high school, no matter what. If they're like, oh, we just heal you up this week for next week, I'd be like, what? No, I want to play. I want to play every game. I think guys that are real competitors like him want to play. I think that is maybe why he's upset too. Plus, you got to look at a lot of these guys have incentives on the line, all kinds of other things. I'm actually like, this makes me like Crosby more because I'm like, he wants to play. He knows they're out of it, and he still wants to be out there with his boys. I mean, I just feel like if I was one of those teammates, I wouldn't want to just let my teammates down. But like, oh yeah, peace, guys. I'm going to go to the offseason early. Good luck this week. Like, that's difficult for me as a competitor to like think in that mindset. Maybe that's a short-term thinking, but that would be tough for me to do.
I wonder, if they weren't out of it and they weren't battling for first place, whether or not they'd be so cautious, like, oh, we better shut you down, where it's like, oh, the division's on the line, or the number one seed in the conference is on the line. Are we gonna, I always wonder about stuff like that.
I always think, and I just made these popped in my head because I was seeing Nate's all his baseball stuff behind him. But remember when the Nationals like shut down Strasburg, and they're like, "Oh, this is for a long-term future," and then they never got there again. Like sometimes you just gotta go and like not think about that stuff. Like they're like, "Oh, well, we just long-term future," and then they never had, that totally screwed them out of their chance. So, but also here's my thinking: if you're the Raiders. Let's be honest. If you're really trying to do an NBA style tank job, wouldn't you just start Kenny Pickett? Why would you bring Geno Smith back and play Geno? Not like he's been great or anything, but like, why wouldn't you just be playing like Kenny Pickett? We saw what he did in his one start. Like, that's the easy tank job. You don't need to sit Max Crosby. You can start Kenny Pickett and lose anyway.
Yeah, that's the confusing part. There were so many different dynamics. I think to go to Jorge's first comment of if they were in contention, I think the answer is yes. I think even if Crosby was had already had the surgery, I think they would have tried to push forward and said, no. Recovery time is not 6 to 8 weeks. It was supposed to be hours or 6 to 8 months. You're good to go. And a lot of that, I do, it is. We said earlier, protecting your investment. And when you sign a 5-year extension or 3-year extension, really, with the potential opt out in 2028, I still think he's the competitor that he wants. No matter what we say, oh, he's got 91 guaranteed already. I don't think he's playing. He cares that he wants to protect those years 27 and 28. I think the Raiders may want to protect that more than he does, and he doesn't ever seem like the person that's going to let money dictate his effort. And I think the Raiders are saying we know that's going to happen, and we want to protect our money more so than he does, and that's tricky because usually it's the greed takes into account, and I think it's when the ownership greed supersedes the player greed, then he has no leg to stand on. That's not a knee injury joke or anything. That is just is what it is. But I'm sure the opposing, quarterbacks aren't too upset that Max Crosby's not going to be in the game.
Right.
You got to look at it. He's a guy who went to Eastern Michigan. Like Eastern Michigan, he had to do everything he could to get into the league, to get where he's gotten. Like, you don't do that and all of a sudden be like, yeah, I'm good. Like, no, you got to have that fire to do what he's done and get where he is. So I can understand him not wanting. For a guy like him, he's like, what's 2 more weeks before I get the surgery as opposed to getting it now? It doesn't make any sense. I just talk about in general. Obviously, it sucks for IDP fantasy purposes for me and Jorge in a bunch of IDP leagues. But like, just as a player, man, I hate to see people just sitting them when guys want to play. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, here's a question for you guys from an IDP standpoint. Against a New York Giants offensive line that without Andrew Thomas, without some of the other I don't want to say impact pieces or just in general solid pieces across that offensive line we've seen the entire season. Who's stepping up in his place are you starting his replacement? It's kind of like the handcuff type question. Is this a handcuff, or are you just pivoting at this point? I guess you probably have other options, but
yeah. So I was all aboard the Malcolm Kuntz bandwagon a couple of years ago, and unfortunately, throughout the year, last year he was, that was the year I was expecting him to have like a breakout, but then he like hurt his shoulder, then he was out for the year, then he comes back this year, and for a good chunk of the season, he he'd been just in a heavy rotation where you weren't seeing a whole bunch of snaps. I think it was like 60 or 50 or 40% of snaps and just rotating in and out. So not somebody I would trust. I'm trying to pull up his snap report recently to see what's going on with that. Currently, but yeah, I'm pivoting off of that. It's one of those things where I'm really glad that we do the plays and fades, and then on Shoot the Gap, we've been doing much like with fourth and frames, we've been doing during the fantasy playoffs, like ceiling, floor, and base plays. And so this is a perfect example of like Max Crosby, somebody you set it and forget it. Oh, he's not available. Okay. Well, now looking at where things are and how much of a dent that takes into my roster, much like Robert Splain, linebacker for the Patriots, like who is the upside of upside plays? And so somebody that I really like is Austin Booker for the Chicago Bears, more so than Montez Sweat, because he basically has been doing something recently that Montez Sweat was doing earlier in the season that made him a good waiver wire pickup because of his rostership percentage being under 30% across the various major platforms. And that is he had a tackle floor. He had a tackle floor, and then you had all the impact plays on top of that. And then all of a sudden that faded off. The tackle floor kind of faded away. And now you're seeing Austin Booker kind of taking that tackle floor the past few games. And then on top of that, you have the sacks and the impact plays. So he's somebody that I have already inserted into my spot over Max Crosby, and this is where you have to shoot for upside. There's no more after this week,
Well, you mentioned shoot for upside. Origami Harvest, good morning to you as well. It's a full point PPR. He wants to know if he needs to play it safe. Should he start George Kittle, who's still questionable? Well, we won't know until later. I think that even if so, is it a pain tolerance type scenario, or pivot to Tongas or Juwan Johnson? And I know my answer is Juwan Johnson, easily in my eyes. Not only is it I'll tell you, even if George Kittle was healthy, I think this is a question that would consider even a bit of pause, just considering how good Juwan Johnson's been with Tyler Shuck, especially over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. But if you go a step further, Juwan Johnson is one of those incentive scenarios that I have listed for the week where he needs 60 yards to receive a bonus. You hope that the Saints aren't being greedy, obviously, as we pivot from, the whole Vegas Raiders and them being chintzy. The Saints aren't exactly a, flush with cash, but at the same time, I think they do want to take care of their own. So I'm going with Juwan Johnson in this situation. Either of you guys leaning to the Kittle with the Tongas pivot against the Bears just in case?
I'm going Juwan Johnson. I'm absolutely with you. He's been really good. Tyler Shuck has been better than I would have thought. I was absolutely against him, but he's actually been pretty decent. And Juwan Johnson, the passing game's actually been there. Olave has actually been playable. Juwan Johnson's been pretty good. I know he's got some incentives on the line, which always is a big one for a lot of these guys. If people don't think these guys know exactly what they need to hit to get some of these incentives on their contracts, like, you're kidding yourself. They absolutely know, and they know they've told their teammates they know what they need to hit. I think Juwan Johnson has a big game today. To me, like you said, since he's questionable, I would just go Juwan Johnson right off the bat. I wouldn't even think about it. I just play him. If you have like an extra flex spot where you could hold Kittle and Tongas, if you have somebody you don't like and you want to put Johnson in the tight end spot, and then if you don't love one of your extra flexes and you want to play one of those guys in a flex, I could see doing that if you're like, playing like a really low end wide receiver 3, which some of us are this week because of all the injuries and everything else going on. Then I would do that, but I get Johnson in my lineup.
Yeah, it's a good question because when you look at his fantasy numbers and like the targets and yards and whatnot, he has a really good catch percentage. 12 receptions out of 13 targets. He's number 4 in receiving yards amongst tight ends, but in half he's only getting you 9 points a game. And so we saw Tongas come in, especially the game that he had versus the the Rams in Los Angeles where they just targeted him a lot, but that was Mac Jones throwing the ball. That wasn't Brock Purdy. So that's a little concerning with Tongas, but we've seen the potential for fantasy production there. That being the case, though, the Titans are really good as far as for fantasy managers attacking them with the tight end. So, yeah, I'm with you on Juwan Johnson this week.
Yeah, if you look over the past month, the Bears have been top 5, top 6 against the tight end position as well.
Yeah.
Everything's lining up to say you're playing with fire. You don't have time to risk it. Playing at 7 p.m. tonight, there's just not enough information that makes me feel comfortable. And again, I do think it's a pain tolerance even if he plays.
I will say that the fact that both of these players or both of these options are, the night game and then Monday Night Football. So it's not like you're starting a situation where you're playing a tight end. You have the option of playing a tight end at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock or playing it tomorrow night and then having to regret your decision if something goes haywire, right? So at least you'll get a little bit more information there at Origami Harvest.
Yeah, I just don't want to play Tongas, but
yeah,
that's just fine. So Amrat needs 2 strong safety PPR. So I'll let Jorge.
So yeah, Malachi Moore is for me somebody that I'm starting in all of my IDP championship leagues. He is by far the guy for the Jets in terms of box safeties. His tackle numbers have been great. The Jets are going to be, the defense is going to be on the field a lot, even with the skill players being kind of decimated to a certain degree for New England. They have enough to still maintain drives. Travion Henderson being cleared in the concussion protocol, that one making a lot of fantasy managers happy today, obviously. Tyke Smith was, a defensive back / safety who was dominating for fantasy all year until he got an injury. He comes back and things just haven't been the same since. JT, the real question here is, though, man, no Buda Baker. And is Jalen Thompson also out? Am I reading that correctly? Or is that?
I think he is also. I know Buda's out for sure. I hadn't seen Thompson out for sure, but he might be. I know I texted you, Jorge, about this. I was like, I'm in a championship game in a league that I have just built a team up from the ground up. Finally in the championship 2 of the last 3 years. Still have never won this league. I picked up Jadrian Taylor Demerson, and I was like, Jorge, do I play him this week over Jalen Hawkins for New England? He's like, I would. I was like, I just needed you to just push me over the edge because I love Taylor Demerson. I was telling you, he was one of the guys when he came into the draft, he was one of my top 3 favorite DBs in the draft 2 years ago. I couldn't believe he fell as far. I'm pretty sure he was like a 4th or 5th round pick. I was shocked he went that late. I think he's really good, and he's shown to be good when he gets time. I'm breaking him out. So I do like Tyke Smith and Moore. I'm probably going those 2 guys. But if you are looking for a safety this morning, someone to throw in your IDP league with injuries or just a super high upside play, DTD, love him. I'm putting him in my lineup. So I think he has a shot to have a big day, especially against a Bengals. I'm sure everybody else like me is hoping this is a monster offensive performance for both these teams, and it's high scoring. I think he's going to have a chance for a lot of tackles and possibly some plays in the secondary. So I'm breaking him out, but I probably would go Tyke Smith and Moore over him, but I do like him a ton this week.
Nice. Thank you for your question, Em. Michael, good morning. Welcome back. His running backs, guys, are Kyron Williams, Chase Brown. In his flex, he has Michael Carter, Rico Dowdle, Blake Corum. So it's question-wise. Would you start Corum and Kyron in this situation? As far as the wide receiver, I'm trying to read and talk at the same time. Sorry, everybody, and making sure I ask this in the proper way, in proper order, so we don't get too confused. But let's start with the running back position. So what I don't know is starting 2 and 1, I would have to say.
Yeah, it looks like he's starting Kyron and Chase Brown.
Correct.
I think he's asking flex play. Do I play Corum and Kyron both, or do I play a Michael Carter or Dowdle instead in that situation? His other options are to play Ibuka, Parker, DK, or Kittle, which we said like we don't know if Kittle's going to play, so that one's
Yes.
a very iffy one.
That's why I figured we'll start with with at least for the question of would you start Corum and Kyron Williams, given the other options, knowing you're going to start Kyron, you're going to start Chase Brown. But is anybody a better option over Blake Corum to start off in the flex spot, or do you think there's enough volume in LA to make sense of the dual start, especially considering how much they've been splitting the workload?
Man, so go ahead.
No, I was going to say I didn't, Jorge. I don't know what the Bengals have done defensively against running backs lately. I'm kind of leaning Carter there. It's hard not to play Dowdle because if you've had Dowdle, it's like he has been so good for you this year, but it's the last couple of weeks have been very iffy. And he's going against Seattle, who's been phenomenal on defense. I'm probably leaning Carter unless Jorge has some data that tells me not to play Carter over Corum. I'm probably leaning Carter there. And then for wide receiver, I'm going Parker Washington. The only time I'm playing DK, and I've told people this numerous times on shows here on Fantasy and Braves, look at your scoring. If you get punt kick return yards and pretty decent points for them, DK almost has to be in your lineup because he's had a ridiculous amount of return yards and gives him a really nice floor because of the return yards. But if you don't, or you get like almost nothing for it, I'm leaning Parker Washington in that for the wide receiver.
Yeah. So in terms of yards per carry, over the past month, the Bengals are at the top, allowing 6 yards per carry to the running back position. And you look at fantasy points allowed, they're 7th to the running back. So then the issue then becomes, okay, well, who's the one dominating snaps? And it's Michael Carter by far, has a 60.2 snap percentage. So definitely like the matchup here. The rest of the games are just not good matchups. And I feel like if you're swinging for upside, you want the best matchup with the running back that you're getting the most volume to in this situation. So I would probably start Carter over Dowdle and just roll with Kyron Williams, not double up with Rams running backs.
Yeah, the wide receiver scenario, it is tricky because it does, especially coming off last week. You want to immediately just
Parker Washington
would be the answer from that, and a lot of that I do believe was them avoiding the outside corners in Denver and Parker Washington taking advantage, or at least the singular matchup, and he had a ton of them. And pity party for Nate. It cost me by him sitting on the bench in Kings Classic, and I would be doing could be, should be, but I'm not, and so. Part of me sees Parker Washington as a trap based off last week, but considering the options, Emeka Egbuka is around 50% over the last couple of weeks as far as route participation. So his just involvement in that offense is even lower than what Parker Washington's is. And I'm fine. And I want the person in championship week that's going to be running the most routes possible, as I don't think you can get points for sitting on the bench or not running routes yet. And if we get in one of those leagues, then maybe we'll change our mind. But yeah, I'm right there with you for Parker Washington.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to. So Kenny Moore amongst slot receivers the past month, slot cornerbacks, excuse me, has allowed the 8th highest quarterback passer rating when targeting the slot wide receiver. He is also giving up the 5th most yards to slot wide receivers, and so that right there is not an overwhelming deterrent from Parker Washington here. So I think I'd still roll Parker Washington. One of the things, though, I think I was talking about on 4th and Frames was that the Colts over the past month have not been great at allowing many receptions, and they haven't been great at allowing many touchdowns. I believe it's been 2 over the past 3 weeks or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
But what they're really good at is yardage in terms of like targeting them. So if you're looking for big chunk plays and getting a lot of yardage in your totals, that's where that adds up, which obviously that lends itself to more of a non-PPR, half PPR standing versus it would in a full PPR. If that makes it any harder to.
That makes sense. I love Kenny Moore, but his play has regressed this year. He has not been great. Like, he used to be the guy where you loved him because he was kind of shutting down that. He'd make tackle. Guys would get catches, but he'd immediately make the tackle, short yards, nothing. He's getting burned. He's trying to knock too many passes down, go for picks, and allowing guys to make catches and then turn them up for big plays. It's not great. And I'm going to say this probably a million times on this podcast, but I'm all over the Jags this week. I am playing so many Jags players, which is I'm not going to the Colts game. I sold my tickets off. I stayed here to do the pod with you guys and watch the games on TV so I could yell at the TV all day. But yeah, I need a 49ers type of offensive performance for the Jags, like the Niners put up last week against the Colts for me in a million leagues. So I will be just going forward. I will be suggesting playing a lot of Jags players.
Yeah, well, instead of suggesting Jags players, can you suggest any IDP players that might elevate today based off recent news and injuries? Jorge earlier talked about some of the options in Las Vegas. I don't know, Epic Fail, if you were here or not. Jorge, if you can quickly just read the names of the people he mentioned earlier and then anybody else.
Right. So Austin Booker, defensive lineman for the Bears, Miles Murphy for the Bengals. No Robert Swain, which means Jack Gibbons will step into another week of being the full-time green dot linebacker who's been performing very well. He had 9 total tackles in the TFL last week. He's got a tackle efficiency of the past 2 weeks of 18.2%, which is super high. And again, he's playing 100% of snaps, so you like that there. Even somebody who's not wearing the green dot but has still been super efficient as far as being a good LB2, LB3 is Akeem Davis-Gaither for the Arizona Cardinals. Definitely somebody to slide in there. Has a 15.5% tackle rate on only 85% of total defensive snaps. Talked about Malachi Moore for the Jets. Tyler Nubin out, and also got switched to IR. That was a pretty quick situation going on there. Dane Belton is somebody who could come in here and do a lot of good and has done good while Tyler Nubin has been out. I'm trying to think if there's anybody that jumps.
Jorge, don't forget our guy. We just talked about him.
DTD.
Taylor Demerson from the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah. If you need a DB, he's my favorite DB pickup and play this week.
And of course, I'm going to be dropping in articles in the YouTube chat for IDP that we have over at fantasyandframes.com that people can check out. A lot more names. Joe Harlow has done just a masterful job of putting the plays and fades for IDP together. So definitely go check that out and give him a follow at JoLo63 over on X.
Absolutely. And Brant needs 2 wide receivers in a full PPR scoring between Drake London, Luther Burden, and Chris Olave. I know mine is Chris Olave for sure. With JT, you talked about that earlier. But then the second, I'm going to go with Drake London. Just the Rams over the last month, allowed second most points to the wide receiver position. Drake London is showing somehow in this passing offense that him and Kenny Pitt, Kyle Pitts can both thrive, I would say. And while I love Luther Burden, JT, I know you do too, Mizzou boy and all, I still worry first game back. And it just, if it was fourth quarter with 3 minutes left in the game, scoring only for your fantasy league, I would take every Bears receiver possible because I think they are the somehow that time frame that is incredible for them. But I'm leaning London and Olave. JT, what about you?
I will just put this out there. I am playing Luther Burden everywhere. I gotta have him. I'm telling you, I was watching the the injury report on him all week because I was like, if he does not play, I am in big trouble in a lot of leagues because I was like I'm just watching guys play game after game, and I'm like, oh, there's another player on my bench that already played. I'm like, I need Burden to play. I love Burden this week. I'm going with him, but you have to play Olave. He's been so good here. And then London is the upside play. Obviously, if London has a big game, like he's gonna possibly win you a championship this week. it's just been tough with the injury with him. I've had a couple buddies ask for like, dude, I had a buddy yesterday was like, do I play Hampton or wait and see about London? And I'm like, I think you got to play Hampton just in case with London. That's the toughie with London playing tomorrow. If they were both playing tonight, you'd be like, okay, just wait till you hear about one of them and then just throw Burden in. But that's the toughie. If you're playing for the home run, like London and Olave, if you're like, I'm in a tight game, and if London doesn't play, I don't have another option on Monday, then I could see you slide in Burns going, I just got to have some points, and I can't take a chance of getting London, and then I'm playing like, I don't know, some garbage other guy from Atlanta that's like fourth stringer because I have to pick him up off the waiver wire on Monday to play for him. So, but I think Olave London is probably, the high upside play. Burden, I am playing him everywhere, but it'd be real tough to sit London for Burden, especially if London is a go.
So I have a situation here where, well, so to follow up on that, first of all, for fantasy managers out there, you do have again that window of like, the Sunday night game and Monday night games being later on, one today, one tomorrow, so that you should hear, in the afternoon, like, is London playing or not? I also have this dilemma where my opponent has both Bijan and Kyron going tomorrow night, and I have London currently locked into one of my lineups. And if they say London is going to be up to the game time to decision, that sucks. And so I was scrambling on the waiver wire looking for like upside there. And so Kanata Mumpfield is my break glass in case of emergency. London doesn't sit. So I can understand why you'd want to slide in Burden. It really depends on your situation and how well you're doing in your championship game, though.
Jorge, funny thing about Mumpfield for the Rams, I have a guy that's in that situation. He's desperate. He just traded me in a dynasty Aaron Jones for Mumpfield because he's like, I know he already played. You can't use him. You're not in the playoffs. Like, I got to have a guy Monday night just in case London can't go. So he traded me Aaron Jones for Mumpfield. So I think you're right. Like, if you're looking, you're like either Mumpfield or you're hoping no one has Darnell Mooney. They've dropped him, like something like that, because that's where you're sitting at this point. You're not going to have a lot of other options.
All right, JT, earlier you said when given an option for Jacksonville Jaguars, you're probably going to lean Jacksonville players. Here's your first option to make that decision when at a quarterback, first of all, for Charles, between Drake May and T-Law. I'll let you start there.
Man, that one's a toughie. I'm playing both those guys in like a million leagues. I have super flex where I have both those guys. I'm playing a ton of places. T-Law is playing great right now. So is May. The worry with May, and I think this has been talked about for a lot of people this week, is that the Pats just pound the Jets and they like start running the ball and they don't want to get him hurt. And they just kind of take it easy with him. Jags need a win, especially with the Houston win yesterday. They need a win to kind of clinch this division. I think this is going to be a pretty high scoring game between the Colts and Jags. So I'm leaning T-Law here. We've seen the running ability of May, which always helps. We talked about it last week on the show, and then he comes through with a couple rush touchdowns. But T-Law has been great running the ball as well. He has been historically good against the Colts as well. So I'm probably slightly leaning him in a more important game for the Jags, just because I think the Pats roll today. Wide receiver-wise, I'm going Burden, and this might just be my rose-colored glasses of loving Luther Burden. I'm going Burden there because I love Josh Downs. It's been super inconsistent with Rivers and all year, really. So I'm playing Downs in spots. Devontae Smith, it's just been who knows with him. He's had some good games, but he's had the passing game has not been great. It's been all A.J. Brown lately. High upside, I'm going Burden, but I wouldn't fault you for playing May and Devontae Smith. I could absolutely see that, but I'm probably going T-Law Burden for me, even though I can't even believe I'm saying Burden over Devontae Smith right now. But I'm a little worried about that weather in that game, that Eagles-Bills game. I think I want the upside of Burden.
Jorge, same question.
So we just saw Brock Purdy come off of throwing 5 touchdowns or what it was on Monday Night Football versus the Colts. So I'm definitely on the T-Law bandwagon there over Drake May. Drake May, the Patriots. I mean, if you have Stephon Diggs, if you have Hunter Henry, I'm more excited for those options for the Patriots than I am for Drake May. And to what JT was saying, like, yeah, you are seeing the same rushing upside that you would get from a May, even more so. So just with the more healthy options that T-Law has against his matchup versus the Colts, even though the Colts have been difficult for quarterbacks over the past month. That's like half Phillip Rivers, half Daniel Jones. So like, what are the splits, since Phillip Rivers have taken over? I feel like they've gotten probably easier. But as far as the wide receiver is concerned, I know Josh Downs has been getting a lot of upticks in targets since Phillip Rivers has been the quarterback there. And I get you with Luther Burden here, but I can't. Devonta Smith, I can't sit Devonta Smith. I just can't do it. Given
I can understand. I feel like Smith feels like the more obvious play, right? I know, and that's why I said rose-colored glasses. I love Burden. I'm playing Burden everywhere, but I definitely think you're taking a chance playing Burden over Smith, right? It's like a little bit of a roll of the dice.
Well, you're taking a chance with Smith also because the Bills have been pretty stingy against wide receivers. If I pull it up here, they've been the fifth toughest team over the past month against the wide receiver position. So the question is, AJ Brown, he has been on a tear, but and I hate using this as like an excuse here, but like there's all this talk about he's coming off of like oral surgery and he's been like questionable at practices and whatnot. I don't know if that even makes any. Probably doesn't make a dent in the situation here. But yeah, if the weather is not an issue per se, I need to look at the weather report, but if it's not an issue, it's just windy and cold, I would rather start one of these Eagles wide receivers over Josh Downs and Luther Burden.
Yep. I hear you. Michael does have one more from earlier. It's his defense, Saints or Rams.
Let me pull up my rankings.
This is for the repeat championship. So even
more. I like this. I will tell him I am playing Saints and Rams in multiple leagues. I'm playing both those teams because I like both of them a lot this week. I am slightly leaning Saints over Rams in this one. I just Saints against the Titans in Nashville. I think they can muck that up. Sacks. If you have, again, I feel like I say this every week, but whenever you're playing the against the Titans, if your league gives you pretty decent amount of points for sacks, like you got to play them because there's a chance they're going to get a lot of sacks. So I'm going Saints over Rams, but it's pretty close. I'm playing both of them in a lot of leagues though.
Yeah, I just the question is not. Will Chase Young get a sack per se? It's how many sacks will Chase Young get today versus Tennessee? I think is more the question here. But you're right. You'd be surprised out there how many DSTs do not count sacks. They'll count like interceptions.
Or they'll give them like a point. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't like it. It doesn't count for a ton. You also got to look at scoring, how that affects. I'm in some leagues where the lower the point total is by far the greater amount of points for defense.
Right.
Where I'm in other leagues where point total almost counts for nothing. It's literally all sacks, takeaways. Your defense can get 1,000,000 points if they get sacks, takeaways, forced fumbles.
Right.
So it does a little bit depend on that. But I just think the upside of the Saints at Tennessee today for their defense is what's got me taking them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. How about Ryan at the quarterback position? Good morning, Ryan, by the way. Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. Are you guys concerned about the heavy rain? Is that dictating to your decision between the two? So,
Burrow for me is
he's my QB1 on the week. Allen 6, but I can understand the case being made that this is the time of year where
insane, right? Not to be playing Josh Allen, but in a 1 QB league, if you're in a 1 QB league, like I think I'm playing Burrow over Allen this week. I mean, It's like it's crazy because you're like, why he was probably in a 1 QB league, probably not the number 1 pick, but a Super Bowl probably the top pick. But man, I like that matchup for Burrow so much more than I do for Allen. I still would play Allen, obviously, if you're going to play him, but in a 1 QB league, I'm Burrow over Allen.
And Ryan, good heads up. Most likely what happened, of course, is someone dropped Joe Burrow. You were quick to the waivers to pick him back up and take full advantage, which is always pretty heads
smart. That's the way to be doing it.
So Ryan also needs a between the 3 receivers here in a standard league, Alec Pierce, Emeka Egbuka, Parker Washington. He points out that Alec Pierce is just shy of the 1,000-yard, the incentive bonus that he needs. Pierce was the bane of my existence last week, as was Parker Washington.
I lost in a league that I was the number 1 team all year, number 1 scorer, absolutely dominating, salary cap league with IDP. I was a monster favorite going in the semis. Alec Pierce and Parker Washington double tagged me, double teamed me, and just absolutely murdered my team. Like, they went off on me. It was rough, especially because I love Alec Pierce, and I always talk about how much great he is, and he absolutely burned me last week. For me, I'll get in real quick and let Jorge give you the data breakdown. In a standard league, though, I'm Alec Pierce. He's a big play guy. Always has a shot at a touchdown. I know Rivers doesn't have the arm as some of the other guys do to throw the deep ball to Pierce, but we saw last week got 2 touchdowns. So it's like I like Parker Washington in a PPR because he's gonna probably see more looks. Abuka, I hate to say it, I like him a lot, but like you already said earlier, he has just not been in the mix lately, and this Tampa offense hasn't been great lately either. So I'm going Alec Pierce in the standard league. And again, I'm hoping this is a high-scoring game. I've got Pierce and Washington going in a ton of leagues, so I'm hoping they both have big games.
Yeah. What he was, JT was alluding to is from a data-driven set. I mean, is there anything changing from red zone targets, et cetera, that you're looking at that might paint a different picture? Because I'm leaning for Pierce as well.
You looking for who? For Pierce?
I'm leaning Pierce in this option as well.
Yeah, so, we go back to week 15, Phillip Rivers' first game with the Colts playing against Seattle. Pierce only got 1 target, 1 reception, 16 yards. And last week, 4 for 4. Again, not a high target number, but still he made all of his catches. 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, one of which was, I want to say, within the 10-yard line. So it wasn't like it was like one of those deep ball passes for both of them. Still got you in a standard league 20 points here. I want to go back to what I said earlier. Like, one of the things that the Colts do well is they limit receptions and they limit touchdowns, but the yardage totals are what really is the Achilles heel. They give up chunk plays, they give up big plays, and therefore for a standard league, being one of the bigger, ways you score the points, I think I'd still lean Parker Washington in this situation.
Yeah, just a little thing, just to remind people here, it not to swing anything one way or the other totally, but other than the 6 for 145 and a touchdown with the 63-yarder for Washington last week, he did have 3 for 53 the week before, 1 for 26 the week before that. The other big game this year for him was the 5 for 71 and a touchdown the week before that. Before that was like 2 for 20 and 3 for 33. So you are doing a little hit or miss for Washington. I'm hoping he has a good game. I've got him going in Warrior Bowl. I need him to have a big game. But he, like Pierce, are both a little hit or miss week to week. So it is a close one for me on both those guys.
Oh, they all have their recent warts. Parker Washington once Brian Thomas Jr. and now Jacoby Myers have really ascended to that 1-2 role. Parker Washington's been the odd man out, as I mentioned last week. I think it was kind of I don't want to say a one-off situation because he's had it, but it was, I think, a true avoidance of Surtain and Riley Moss more than anything else. And Igbokwe obviously has taken a huge step back when he's not even playing more than 55% of the routes. And Alec Pierce is really, I mean, I can't say he's the one option, but a number one option, if you will, with a quarterback play that's probably the worst of the three. Yeah, it's not a slam dunk option.
Yeah, it's not ideal. So he does have 78 or more yards in 3 of the last 4 games with 3 touchdowns for Pierce. And here's the fantasy stat that would have blown people's minds if you would have brought this up before the season. The chances of Alec Pierce and Parker Washington leading their teams each in receiving, are you kidding me? Both of them, number 1 on their team in receiving. Pierce, 871 yards, is almost over 100 yards more than Pittman. And then Parker Washington is the number 1 guy right now for the Jags, which is some of that's injuries and stuff too, but that's pretty unbelievable. Those 2 guys are leading their teams in receiving.
Yeah, you know, I think I'm gonna flip to Pierce, because you look at yards per reception, like everything is above, like his lowest yards per reception since week 6 has been 16 yards. Everything else after the catch has been 20.
He's led the league 20. In yards per catch for like 2 or 3 straight seasons. Yeah. I mean, the good thing is with Pierce, and I've tried to explain this to people. Last year, he literally ran go routes every play. I mean, every play. They're actually working in some other routes for him, but he never runs like screen passes. They never run like a 1 or 2 or 3 yard pass him. Everything for him is 8 to 10 yards downfield minimum. Mm-hmm. So he is getting those intermediate routes this year that he hasn't gotten in the past, which has definitely helped him fantasy wise. Because in the past, if you would have said, hey, no, Anthony Richardson, I'm not playing Pierce at all, because all he's going to do is run deep routes, and he's got to have Anthony Richardson chuck one to him. He's actually shown that he's done more than that this year.
And ironically, in the mention that he put that Alec Pierce is just shy of 1,000 yards. He is actually, with Emeka Egbuka is closer to 1,000 yards. He needs about 90 yards to get to 1,000, as does
I think Pierce is 130 away.
Yep. It's a lot of incentives that week. Little fun fact. We're going to throw out fun fact. Brandon has one, which is that Jaden Higgins and Jaden Noel are the only rookie teammates to both have a 40-yard reception in a game since 1938. They finally have a dual stack. Congratulations, Houston Texans. And it looks like on the rise. Didn't think we would be there this soon, as far as just how quickly the Texans have turned around what was seen as a shit situation, considering everything impacted. So
I have to be honest with you guys. My favorite bet right now is taking the Texans to win the Super Bowl. It seems a little wild, but I feel like the AFC is wide open, and it feels like a year where if a team has a dominant defense, they can figure out, and just incompetent QB play, which I like CJ Stroud, that they can actually get there, especially with all the stud QBs, I should say, not being in the playoffs in the AFC. I really like betting on the Texans to win the Super Bowl right now. And this is just a sprinkle, but I think they're a nice underdog to win it right now.
Nice. Well, Bryn Drum, thank you for the super chat. You say underdog. Right now, he's not the underdog because he's up 30, thanks to King Henry. So at this point, guys, what it sounds like is, you're trying to maybe playing the safer route, or some people are like, hey, I'm up. I'm going to shoot for the moon and really put my foot on the person's throat. But swap Jermaine Pratt for Jeffrey Simmons feels like fading Antoine Winfield for Demerson, Cooper DeJean, Nick Scott. What do you guys think? Given up to the 30-point, boost, if you will, to start off.
So I need to look up the target volume
as Jorge's looking. I'll kind of throw my 2 cents in here. I will have to tell you, I have Winfield Jr. going in a league, and I picked up Demerson this morning, and I'm on that same train here with Benjamin here. I'm debating playing Demerson over Winfield. I know that seems crazy. I would definitely play Demerson over Cooper DeJean or Scott. Man, Simmons has been really good. And if there's like a premium for defensive tackles that get sacks and tackles, then I would definitely consider playing Simmons. If not, if it's just normal for him, like any defensive lineman, I'm probably going Pratt just for the tackle upside. Unless you're like a really sack heavy league where you can get a ton of points for sack, like I said, defensive tackle premium, then I would probably lean Simmons. If not, I'm probably staying Pratt. Jorge, do you have a feeling one way or the other? I love Winfield. I know he's been up and down over the years. I love Winfield. I am slightly debating between Winfield and Demerson in my huge big money league in the championship today. Do you gotta pull one way or the other? Am I liking Demerson too much? I guess is what I should say.
So let me go. No, you're not liking him too much. To answer your question, going back to Pratt or Simmons, I do like the tackle upside for Pratt. But if there was a better running game for Seattle, then I would be like Jeffrey Simmons locked. Don't mess with it. He's been doing fantastic.
You meant for the Saints.
I'm sorry, for the Saints. Yeah. Yes, thank you. Sorry. You look at Antoine Winfield Jr. He does lead the safeties for the Buccaneers for the past month in box snaps. But what's really concerning is that he also has 86 box snaps compared to Tyke Smith's 60. Keep in mind that Winfield has played one more game than Tyke Smith, but free safety snaps, Winfield has been playing 130 snaps to Tyke Smith's 52. So the fact that he has been playing more in a coverage role does concern me from a safety point of view. Now, I say this, right? But I think the defensive back I'm going with is Cooper DeJean, who has been playing pretty well for fantasy managers. And going against, which has been the number one receiving option, Khalil Shakir for the Bills, has the highest target percentage over everybody in Buffalo since week 13. Yeah, I'm going to roll with Shakir. I think that's what they try to take away in the passing game, meaning the Eagles from Buffalo.
Yeah, Khalil Shakir is another one of those incentive laden wide receivers, so I could very easily see Josh Allen and company trying to force feed him to get the yardage needed as long as the game, isn't in jeopardy of that. So it's a good call with the targets, even if you hope DeJean lets him catch them. Be Kenny Moore. Be good enough to be bad. Be bad enough to be good.
Yeah, as long as you're making the pass deflections or the tackles, I don't care where they're happening on the field. Yeah. I don't
care what you're going to do. So thank you, Brenda. Good luck this week. And anybody else ever wants a question answered immediately like that, do as Brenda did, and again put put fuel in Jorge's jet. Here's a question from Ryan between Theo Johnson, Chig Okonkwo, and AJ Barner. Johnson's out this week, so we can eliminate him from this conversation. He has battling illness. And then you have a battle of the bottoms. Okonkwo in Tennessee going against a New Orleans defense that is over the last month about as good as it gets against the tight end position, except the Carolina Panthers, who AJ Barner is going to go against, are even better. So at this point, it's in a standard league. You got to kind of look at the yardage and the touchdowns. And I can tell you, Carolina hasn't allowed a touchdown to the tight end position over the last month. Neither has the Saints, but the Saints have allowed 156 yards to the position. They've been targeted 26 times versus the Panthers only being targeted 15 times and allowing 83 yards. Data alone leans me towards Okonkwo, and I know that's pretty much the only thing I can rely on just given the situation. But I don't love either option, and I don't think I don't want to start making recommendations to say, hey, well, maybe is so and so on the waiver wire. Of course, Taysom Hill's not on the waiver wire. You're not going to be able to go out and pick up Taysom Hill, most likely. You're probably maybe Tongas or something like that. But we're giving the options of what we got, guys. Chig or AJ?
Yeah, I think I'm rolling with Chig since week 13. He's only had one game where he's had fewer than 5 targets. But this is not great either way, to be honest with you. Let me pull up Barner really
For
quickly.
me, I'm going. If you're looking for yards, I'm probably going Chig. If you're going touchdown upside, I'm going Barner. Like you said, they haven't get up any touchdowns, so it's hard to say touchdown upside with Barner at a tight end. But I just think the Seahawks have a better chance of scoring higher. So him possibly sneaking one in that's the difference maker for me. So like I've got both these guys in a couple tight end premium leagues. Different in tight end premium than standard. In tight end premium, I'm probably going to Conquo Chig because of the touchdown or the receptions and yards. If I'm in a standard like this where I'm just like, man, I'm praying a guy gets a TD, I'm probably going Barner just because I feel like the upside of him actually getting a TD on the Seattle team is better. So that would be literally the crux of my analysis right there is just I'm thinking Barner has a better shot at TD. But if you're like, hey, I just need some points and I don't want to count on TD, and you're hoping you get 3 to 5 points for Chig on 30 to 50 yards receiving, then I'd go Chig. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for.
I think I'm actually going to go Barner into what your point, Nate, as far as for a non PPR, the yardage totals, right? 9th most yards given to the tight end position. I think that's where I'm kind of stuck up with Barner over Okonkwo in this situation. And to what JT
I just want
saying,
the guy with the better QB. Right? I want the guy with the better QB and the better offense. So I'm like, if it's close, like these guys are real close, I just want the guy with the better offense and the better quarterback, and hope that he gets something.
See, it's funny you say that, and it's kind of like we do a lot of overthinking, and it's like, well, which do you want, the shitty team or do you want the good team that scores a lot of points? Like I remember Bob Lung was asking me in like a interview once, and he's like, so how do you prioritize players that you're drafting? And I'm like, I draft the good ones and I don't draft the bad ones. And
that is the killer analysis that people tune in for here at Fantasy and Frames.
Exactly.
Draft the good players, not the bad ones.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
In this case, both are bad. You just take the lesser of two evils, and I'll for a consensus standpoint, so that we all are united, we all will go the AJ Barner route. Plus, let's be honest. I mean, he has 6-7 touchdowns on the season, 1 rushing touchdown even. So the touchdown upside is much higher for sure. Epic Fail has a half-point PPR tight end question between Taysom Hill, Colby Parkinson, and Tongas, assuming George Kittle doesn't play. But without that knowledge, it really, I think, then comes down to between Taysom Hill, the Swiss knife of everything, and Parkinson, who, when faced with the ideal matchups, has not come through. When up against the wall, has been nothing short of spectacular. I don't know how good of analysis that is, but it sure seemed like last week I was ready for the Colby Parkinson but continuation from weeks 14 and 15, and that was a stinker. But I don't know. I think Taysom Hill just being I've rooted against him too long. I finally have to just realize that he gets so many high value touches that it's hard. Like the odds are in his favor to put up a solid floor, just given the amount of opportunities that he should see around the goal line. You guys agree?
Yeah. I mean, the Titans receiving to the tight end position are 8th. You look at the fantasy points per game to the tight end position are 5th. And that's just as a tight end, right? You mentioned the Swiss Army knife capabilities that Taysom Hill has shown over his career. I'm rolling with Taysom Hill this week at the tight end position.
I think you got to go Hill. We saw last week with all the running backs hurt that they're like, okay, we got to figure out how to manufacture some touches somewhere. Taysom Hill's the manufacturer guy. Like he's completely made for that. So you can get touches everywhere. Here's the thing about Colby Parkinson. If you go back and you look, other than the 5 catches for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns against Detroit, you take out that one game, he has 3 games all year over 40 yards, and he has 4 touchdowns. So the 6 touchdowns is really carrying him. I mean, it's really carrying him. So it's the numbers seem better than they should be, but he's only got 33 catches for 319 yards. Guess what he had last year? 30 for 294.
Yeah.
Damn, near same numbers. Difference is 6 touchdowns this year, 1 last year. Yeah. So it's not like the numbers are fantastic. You're living and dying by the touchdowns for Parkinson. I like the matchup against Tennessee. I think they're going to get Taysom Hill touches. I picked him up where I could, the places I wasn't too slow to grab him, and I think I'm playing Taysom Hill in a lot of spots this week.
Yep.
So we got Kyle. I'm sorry, before we hop to that one, Kyle Ziegler, who will be joining us in a few, just said per Adam Schefter, Kittle is unlikely to play this week. So
got it. Cool. That helps a lot.
I was hearing he was like game time decision, like warm-ups, which those always are just burn me. So it would be nice if by like before afternoon games start, they're like, nah, he's out for the night game, and people know. But I'm not taking in a championship game. I say this all the time, but in a championship game, you can't take the chance of getting a 0. If you got the Tungus, if you got him to back up and you can at least get someone in there, then you feel better about it. But if you don't,
pivot.
I just can't take a 0 in a championship game.
No doubt. All right, Michael. So full point PPR. So he's planning on starting Brenton Strange. Question then is, do you want to double up with Parker Washington, since they both went off last week, or pivot and start Colson Loveland over Brenton Strange? So are you comfortable? JT, I know earlier you said you're taking all the Jags you can. Are you stacking all the Jags you can as well?
I am actually stacking all the Jags. This is a good question because I'm in the same boat in a lot of leagues. I'm playing Loveland in a lot of spots, but I told you at this point, I'm all in for championship week on the Jags. I'm playing, this tells you I'm going for a championship and Warrior Bowl, which would be freaking amazing if I could win that. I am loading up Parker Washington, Brenton Strange, and T-Law in Warrior Bowl. So I am going all out on the Jags and praying that now that my Colts are out of it, they play a good game, they keep it close, but the Jags score 1 million points. I hope they just put like I said, I'm looking for a Niners type performance. I'm playing both Strange and Washington, especially if I have T-Law to stack with them. Though I do like Loveland, I'm going with the stack of both the Jags players.
Yeah, I feel and I know this isn't part of the question and it's just going off on a tangent more than anything, but I wish I would feel better starting Strange and Loveland than I would either of those two and Parker Washington, just like in a vacuum. So, I mean, both
tight end premium, and I know I always bring this up. Tight end premium, I'd probably play in Loveland and Strange. Like you just said, Nate, I probably play both of those guys if I have them, to be honest with you, over Parker.
Like one's at wide receiver, one's at tight end. But Jorge, are you in agreement? Are you taking Strange over Loveland?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yep. I think we're all right there too. So good luck, Mike. Kurt Johansson, good morning. Mike Evans or AJ Brown in full point PPR?
So somebody in the chat said that it should be snowing in Buffalo for this game.
Snow
as long as it's not that game from a couple years ago where it was them versus, was it the Colts? I think it was there when they played the Colts, and it was just like 2 feet of snow, and you guys could barely run. We've seen data that snow doesn't affect overall points in games a lot. It's really more wind than anything. So if it's not crazy windy, the snow doesn't typically. And I'm weird on this. I actually think snow and kind of not great footing actually helps the offense a little more than the defense, because offense, you know where you're going. Defense, you got to like kind of adjust to a guy and break down. I think it's easier to slip on defense than it is on offense. So sometimes I always think these games, you think, it's going to be super low scoring, and then guys break off huge plays because someone slips and falls in the secondary, or a guy just like that would normally make a tackle, like goes to break down and slips and misses them. So as long as it's not crazy windy, I think it's still okay. This one's a toughie for me, but since I'm already jabbering away, I'm going to say AJ Brown. He's been a little more consistent lately. Like I said, the Tampa Bay offense is, man, they've been a little frustrating if you've been riding Baker and those guys lately. But just if you look at the last, outside of 2 weeks ago versus Vegas, where he didn't do anything, I mean, the last 4 out of the last 5 weeks, AJ Brown is absolutely on a tear. I mean, he is on a tear. So I'd hate to go away from AJ Brown right now.
Yeah. I do too. And I really want to, I mean, my answer wants to be Mike Evans, just because we've seen Emeka Egbuka take a step back, like we've talked about ad nauseum so far this morning, and Mike Evans being the real recipient of the added volume, and 2 games played, 21 targets, 11 receptions, but you see it against and Carolina was a tough matchup. We knew going in, Carolina, their secondary was going to create a difficult sledding for Tampa Bay, but he got the touchdown to salvage it. I have Mike Evans ranked higher right now, but I got to tell you, like you said, really since the past month and a half, the Eagles have consciously made an effort to pass the ball more, and AJ Brown has been the real benefactor of this whole thing. So I'm going to go with AJ Brown with you there. Jorge, you want to?
Yeah, I'm with you. Like the snow thing, that to what JT was saying, that doesn't bother me. It's really the increase in the passing volume for these wide receivers for the Eagles that makes the most sense for me.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, Kirk. Good luck. Andre is in a full point PPR. He needs a tight end and a wide receiver 3, if no Kittle. So we'll assume no Kittle at this point, considering all the data we've gotten. So then do you go Brenton Strange, Colby Parkinson, Taysom Hill? Jorge, I'll let you start with that one. And then JT, I'll ask you the wide receiver question.
So I would go with Taysom Hill, just because the Titans are very susceptible to fantasy points allowed and yardage to the tight end position. And that's just as a tight end. We talked about his versatility. I'm sorry, did you want me to answer the wide receiver 3 question as well? Or
I was going to ask JT, but why don't you answer that, and then I'll go back to JT, because I want to get his opinion, because I know he's high on Jags, and I think Brenton Strange and Taysom Hill's an interesting debate between the two if he decides to go that way. So yeah, wide receiver 3 is Luther Burden, Parker Washington, Kyle Williams.
I would do I would start Parker Washington, just because this game versus the Colts should be a high scoring one for Jacksonville.
And man, I feel you. This is by far, I think, the most tricky of the start sit ones so far that I've seen this morning, just because there's so much floor at play with some of them, and there's quite a bit of really boom or bust with some of the other options that, I like all the questions where I have everybody ranked about the exact same, where I know I'm like, I might have been wrong, but the person scored half a point more, so big deal. This could be multiple points separate between the two. So JT, same questions in the same order. So tight end, no Kittle, Brenton Strange, Colby Parkinson, Taysom Hill.
Yeah, I think that's close between Strange and Hill. I'm gonna go Strange. You look at what Kittle did last week against them. I think this is right now, if you look at the Vegas books, Colts Saints game is the 4th highest overall over-under total. Saints Titans right now is the 2nd lowest total, if that tells you anything on where they think points are going to be scored. So I want to be in the game with a lot of points going to be scored. So I'm going Strange over Hill. Man, I am like this close between Luther Burden and Parker Washington. Like I said, playing both those guys in a ton of spots. I'm slightly leaning Luther. There is no Odunze. I know that DJ Moore has been better the last couple weeks after kind of being down, but I think they continue to get Burden involved, and I really do think Burden is like on the crux of a monster breakout game, like just a monster game at some point. So I'm leaning personally for me, Strange and Burden. But if you wanted to double up, like I've said a couple times on the show with Strange and Washington, I wouldn't hate that at all.
Yeah. And that, like I said, it is close. While I do want pieces of Taysom Hill, just again, like we talked about, the high value touches should 100% be there. Will they lead to high value results? That's the question. Makes me lean Brenton Strange myself by a smidge. I think they're really close. Wide receiver spot, I do want Luther Burden. I don't love taking Washington and Brenton Strange when I have an option that's close enough in Burden. So like I not to say
you're really throwing it. I'm throwing a lot of eggs in the Jags basket today, but I'm telling you, in the leagues that I'm starting Washington and Strange, if I had Burden instead of and Washington, I'd probably start Burden over Washington personally with Strange. Yeah. I'm doing part of Washington in places where it's like other guys that I'm not loving, and I'm just like, screw it. I'm all in on the Jags this week. So, but if I had both those guys, I had Luther and Washington. For me personally, I would be starting Burden over Washington in most of those spots.
Are we chasing Parker Washington after one good game with Pat Surtain shadowing Ryan Thomas Jr.? So that game script for Parker Washington was set up perfectly. Now, are we chasing that in the next game?
This is what we talked about. I mentioned earlier, I was worried that last week was not even worried. I am 100% under the impression that his blow up was directly related to that. We've pivoted from that into using the matchup as exclusive reasons why Parker Washington is viable more than just chasing points. It's the matchup is ideal. The implied point total is ideal, and the Jags should and could be able to really carry 2 to 3 different fantasy relevant starters, especially considering most of them are flex plays or wide receiver 3. At least I don't want to speak for these guys, but I think that's the consensus that we've come to.
And maybe I'm just a Jaguar hater.
No, that's fair. That's
what could have given people the assumption that you were is it maybe the Titans gear behind? I don't know. That could potentially be.
That's why I proposed the question. Are we chasing it?
Well, I should have chased Parker. You know what? I'm not going to talk about Washington.
Yeah, I remember that last week, Nate. You had him as an option in one of your leagues, and you went with who'd you go with?
Dawson Knox.
Oh, yeah.
I lost by 4.9.
So
from that.
So Kyle, thanks for putting in the George Kittle comment in the chat. As far as the shift report, because as you were doing that, I am up in one of my championship games, and I had Kittle and I had Tongas on the bench, but I'm like, let me see who's available on the wire. And Hunter Henry was just sitting right there, and I'm like, done.
And if this one word changes things, I typed in unlikely to play, then I look back and it actually says highly unlikely. So does that change?
His projections went to 0, if that makes any.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that does. Rachel, she has no managed championships this year, so no questions, but wanted to wish us a happy new year. Thank you for your hard work this season. Keep being awesome. Thank you. You're here every weekend. We love you. We can't wait to see you in July this year, not August, assuming you'll be there. And we'll talk in person then and celebrate the new year 7 months later by having a couple of drinks for sure. Charles says, thanks for your advice. Good content. Good luck, everyone. 100% agree. These guys are fantastic with backing up their reasons with content. Sometimes I wish I could just go with all gut calls every time so I didn't have to prove my point wrong by saying I think it's this guy, but all the data backs up this. It's the better content and it's the better decision week over week, year over year, time over time. Is database will always produce better results, but we don't focus on percentage of results over the time. We look at the one implied what happened, and that's the nature of this beast. Ramondre Stevenson, now with the first of all, Tyranno09, good morning. With Travion Henderson clearing concussion protocol, Ramondre Stevenson or Kenneth Walker. Tricky spot here. Kyle, I'll let you start. You're new joining us, and also good morning and hello and all the other superlatives to you.
Yeah, thank you. No. I just jumped in there earlier, so no, it's all good, Nate. I think it's actually kind of tough for me because even though Travion Henderson is back for the Patriots, Stevenson just gets a lot of work. He still gets a lot of work there in that offense. Travion has picked up a little bit of more goal line work than earlier in the season, but man, they still like to turn to Stevenson a lot. But I think I'll go Kenny Walker here in this situation, just for the explosive runs that he is capable of doing.
Right.
Yeah. So the immediately in my mind, and I don't want this to keep entering my mind, but for some reason the sick thoughts just keep coming in here, and that is, Admiral Akbar from Return of the Jedi. It's a trap. When I think of Travion Henderson, it's like, okay, he just cleared the concussion protocol. He had his first full practice on Friday. How much are they really going to need to use him in this game versus the Jets versus Ramondre? He's good to go.
They
it's
are
one of
playing
those things.
a lot, though.
I guess that's a fair point. The division is still up for grabs. The thing here is that, is there a trap? Is there a situation? No, I can't even put myself to say that this game is close. This game should be salted away in the second half by these running backs. So the question is that where Travion Henderson's bread and butter is going to be made in that situation? Because the Patriots are missing some wide receivers here. So it is an interesting situation, but I think I will also go Kenny Walker. The recent explosive run rates have been pretty impressive for him, coming off of that huge performance against Seattle. But
No,
yeah,
it's Rams. He's on Seattle.
I'm sorry. First, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, I'm going.
Jorge had to get up at the crack of dawn this morning and drive. So
No.
He's still working on it. For me, I think this is one like you're almost overthinking it just a hair with Stevenson. Like, I think you got to go Kenny Walker. The only time I probably would play Stevenson over Walker, if Henderson was definitely out, I would have been like, ooh, I'm in on Stevenson. We're assuming a blowout, but say that doesn't happen. Does he get 1 million carries? Like, unless you're in a league where you're getting a pretty hefty point per carry, like 0.2 or 0.25 per carry, I think you could see maybe a little more higher carries for Stevenson in this game. But like the other guy said, I think Kenny Walker, the explosiveness, it makes me. And if you're someone like me who sat Kenny Walker when he scored 54 points in one of my leagues a couple weeks ago, then you're like, yeah, I can't get burned twice, so you got to play Kenny Walker.
Points.
So I think Kenny Walker's the way to go. Though I don't mind Stevenson in a flex spot, but like I said, the only time it's getting real close for me is if you're in a PP point per carry league or a 0.25 per carry league. I think Stevenson might get a little bit of a boost.
He's in the JT likes his bonuses when it comes to fantasy leagues.
I'm in a lot of bonus leagues. Like I'm in a lot of leagues where we do bonuses for everything, so it does make a difference.
Yeah, I go back and forth because going into last week, if you asked me the same question, I probably would have said no chance Kenny Walker after back-to-back weeks where he's averaging sub 3 yards per carry. And then he showed us last week why I can't quit him is because he has just that boom. And I don't see like Ramondre. It's not that I want an exciting or a boring player. Like I give two shits about that, but Ramondre is boring. And I could very easily see, even with the advanced workload, if he gets 17 carries, it being, 47 yards and no touchdown. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's yuck. But Kenny Walker, give me 11 carries again, give me 3 targets, and I think you can, you'll be an RB2 almost just guaranteed from that, like Kyle said, that explosive run rate. So there you go. Good luck, Tyranno. G Fresh says, happy championship week. I don't know. You ain't talking to me. I ain't got no championships. That sucks. I feel like it's a jab, G, but it is what it is. I'm happy for you because you have a couple start-sit questions for your championship. Let's start at quarterback. We said very similar. Joe Burrow, Drake May. Earlier, we were Joe Burrow in the decision between him and Josh Allen. Does the same thing hold pace with Drake May? Burrow or May? JT?
You know how much I'm a stat guy, and he says he's got Diggs, so that usually makes me want to do the stack. But man, I think you got to go Burrow against that Arizona defense this week. I like Burrow. I think you got to go Burrow. And then I was looking up that flex play. I tell you what, if we were talking about those guys, 6 weeks ago, I'm absolutely loving this. But the last couple of weeks, you're like, ugh, this thing's gotten a little ugly here. Tyler Warren was just an absolute stud with Danny Dimes, and then things have gotten a little uglier. Now, the one thing you can look at, it wasn't pretty, but he did get 9 targets last week. He only had 3 catches for 30 yards, but he did get 9 targets. He also had 6 targets in each of the 2 previous games, even though those only turned into 3 for 19 and 215. So you feel good about at least he's getting target share. They're just not turning into anything for him right now. Ibuka, we've talked about on the show, his routes run is just dropping. This Bucs offense in general is just not firing on all cylinders like they were early. I'm having a real difficult time having myself play Ibuka anywhere. Mm-hmm. I'm probably going Corum in this one, just in the fact that I think he's been getting enough carries. If you would have told me this, like I said, 5 weeks ago, I'm playing Tyler Warren, it's not even a freaking question. But if there's no tight end premium, it's just a regular PPR, I got to go Corum over those other 2 guys with Burrow.
Kyle?
For the quarterback spot, of course, it's got to be Joe Burrow. Over May, and I want to talk about this. It's the injuries in the receiver room for the New England Patriots that really scare me on Drake May. Mm-hmm. Which brings me to Stephon Diggs at wide receiver in that flex spot, closing in on an incentive. He needs 4 catches for $500,000. So I think he's guaranteed to get 4 catches today. Mm-hmm. So I really like Stephon Diggs because of the injuries to the offensive line as well. They're going to get the ball out quickly. I think Diggs sees a lot of targets today. I like Blake Corum, like you said, JT. He's actually getting a lot of volume for an RB2 on a team. But in this situation for championship week, I really like Stephon Diggs for the volume that he's going to receive, the incentive that he's looking at, and everybody just banged up in the wide receiver room. It makes Diggs probably highly targeted.
Well, unless I'm reading that wrong, I think he's playing Diggs for sure at wideout. Oh. He's saying flex-wise, would you? So that's what I was talking about. Would you go? I think he was saying because I'm a stack guy. So he was like, I have Diggs, I'm playing him. Would you play May because of Diggs, or would you play Burrow instead? Because usually I'm like stack all the way, stack. But this week, this is one of the rare times. Even though I agree with you, I think Diggs has a good game. I think you got to play Diggs. But I'm still with Burrow, even with May in the stack, and then Warren, Corum, Ibuka. To me, Corum has the safest floor, but also has the highest upside. Yeah, so to me, that's got to be
I'm still shaking the cobwebs out this morning with my coffee, so I see what you're saying now. Yeah, absolutely, Blake Corum then in this situation. Yep.
Yeah, I hate the matchup for Corum. I don't like Atlanta. They've really difficult run for the running back position, but with volume is, as you said,
he's going to see at least 10 carries.
He's had at least, he's averaging about 12 over the last 3 weeks, and we've seen, the height over 10 yards per, the floor is 3, and he scored in 4 straight games. So, if that means anything, that's either one of 2 things. Either he's going to make it 5 straight, or it was bound to stop at some point. That one of those 2 narratives is going to hold true, but I say Blake Corum as well. Thank you. Good luck. Here's one that is intriguing. Jalen Hurts, Tyler Shuck. I know many people, when looking at this, would probably say something about don't get too cute and start Jalen Hurts, and I understand that. Tyler Shuck has been nothing short. You said it earlier, JT. Extremely surprising. Like if you said, hey, over the last 5 weeks, how many tight end or QB1 finishes do you think he would have had without me ever watching the games and only going off of what I've seen or expected? I would have said 0. He's had 3, or I guess 6 weeks, whatever. I extended out to make it even more relevant. But it's wonky. Last week against the Jets was probably the one game where you're like, okay, that's a justified finish. And he wasn't even a QB1 because even with 300 yards passing, everything else has been the multiple rushing touchdown floor. So do we get too cute and even consider Tyler Shuck, or is this all Jalen Hurts?
I just looked it up. Per Fantasy Pro scoring, Hurts was numbered QB 10 the last 2 weeks, while Shuck was QB 16 both weeks. So, again, this goes back to one of those situations you're like, are you going to kick yourself if you start Shuck instead of Hurts? And you're like, what was I thinking? I overthought it too much. I think you got to play Hurts in this situation. Shuck is a good one. If you have a lot of other injuries, I can see him playing him in a super flex, but it's those guys head to head. To me, I think you gotta go. I think you gotta go Jalen Hurts here.
I agree, JT. I mean, I was looking up real quick. Like, I want to make points for Tyler Shuck because I want to play Tyler Shuck in this one against the Tennessee Titans. But looking at it, man, last 2 weeks, Shuck's finished quarterback 16, for quarterback 2. You got to think that Jalen Hurts will still finish as a back end QB1, right?
Yeah. I don't see a path unless it was Jalen Hurts against the Texans or just one of those matchups where I really have pause. I don't think that personally. I don't think Buffalo is that matchup that really has me shivering like it probably will be in Buffalo.
The thing with the Bills, too, is they've not been good against the run. And so you got to think if Barkley gets some big carries, we're going to get some tush push around the end zone. Like, we're going to get some chances for Jalen to get some TDs running the ball. So I just think you got to go Hurts, especially the way that A.J. Brown's playing lately. The fact that they're literally – I mean, the Eagles are still up against it a little bit here, trying to fight for playoff positions. So I like Hurts over Shuck this week.
There you go. All right. Your boy Flex is here. He wants to know, need a tight end play. Tight end seems to be the theme of the day so far, and he's got a couple good ones. He got 4 good ones, honestly, if you ask me, as far as week in and week out. Very tricky. Brenton Strange, Taysom Hill, Darren Waller, Tyler Warren. Context is he has JT and ETN, and his opponent is playing Trevor Lawrence. If that matters, and it doesn't matter to me necessarily. I think psychologically it can, where I'm like, but at the end of the day, when making that decision, I don't change if they're even, maybe I would make that case. But Jorge, welcome back. Some coffee in you. Is Brenton Strange, Taysom Hill, Darren Waller, or Tyler Warren. Sorry.
So I wouldn't play Tyler Warren. The Jags the past month have been the 3rd toughest matchup for the tight end position. So that scratches that one off the list. Darren Waller. The Battle of Florida. The Buccaneers the past month have allowed the most fantasy points per game on the year. The issue here is, what are we thinking about as far as snaps are concerned? Let me pull up that information really quickly, comparing the wide receivers and tight ends for the Dolphins and seeing where Warren matches up here. Because if it's like, if there's something like a big discrepancy here, like in terms of like what we're seeing as far as target volume, that could be concerning. Let's see here. So Jalen Waddle, since over the past month, has a team target share of 25%. Next up is Darren Waller with 18.6%. So, I mean, he is being featured, and he has one of the best matchups over the past month versus the Let me just make sure I'm saying this correctly as opposed to last week. Yep, tight end position. Cool, got it right this time. Yay. So I would go Waller in this matchup.
I keep leaning Strange because I like I said, I knew I was gonna say this a million times a day, but I'm on the Jags today. I'm leaning Strange. Taysom Hill's right behind. Waller's a tough call. Like, it's like you just with the QB play, everything's going on. You're like, is he worth keep starting every week? But then he keeps like kind of playing pretty well. I got a question about Waller and Hill after Nate and Kyle jump in and give your answers. I got a buddy who has a question I want to throw in real quick while we're talking about these tight ends.
Yeah, I'm on the Brenton Strange train. With the way Trevor Lawrence is tossing the ball around right now, I want a piece of that offense right now. And I've said it before with Darren Waller, like he got all his touchdowns in the red zone. I don't want to rely or goal line. I don't want to rely on that. I want to rely on production. And for me, I'm a Brenton Strange guy. He's getting a lot of volume there. And the way Trevor Lawrence, again, is just throwing the rock, I want a piece of that. Are you muted?
Oh, Nate, you're muted.
I sneezed earlier and got that mute. I am 2 on Brenton Strange. Of course, when I look up stats, I hate it because it does make me frustrated because Darren Waller, while I agreed exactly with what Kyle was saying, I was like, man, that's all red zone looks. He's also, shockingly, had 4 deep targets over that same stretch. So he's got almost the same amount of red zone targets as he has deep targets. And it makes me want to think, oh, there's that upside with Darren Waller. And Quinn as well. He's just not – I just don't trust him enough. And I trust T-Law more. So I'm going to go Brenton Strange. JT, you had a question for us.
Yeah, I got a buddy. We have a league that we play basically 2 different sides of the league, and then they play through and play each other. So there's times where you have the same players. They both have Amon-Ra St. Brown. They both have Mike Evans. His question is, should he play? The other guy picked up Taysom Hill and is playing him at tight end. His question is, does he play Taysom Hill to also offset him, or does he play Waller and take a chance to do that? He feels like he has better running backs and a better quarterback. So he's like, do I try to just neutralize as many other positions? How would you guys take that? I'm leaning play Taysom Hill and just neutralize Taysom Hill too. Would you say, no, go ahead, play Waller over Hill? What do you guys think in that scenario?
Man.
I'd still go, sorry, Nate. I'll still probably go Taysom Hill over. I've just never been a Darren Waller guy. Taysom Hill gets the same amount of looks as Waller when you get down to the red zone, and Taysom Hill can actually throw it if you get that select packages. So I don't know. With the way that the running back room is beat up there in New Orleans, maybe they continue to run the ball with Taysom Hill in the backfield. So I would go Taysom Hill.
It's kind of one of those like cost benefit analysis where it's like if he thinks his other positions are, how much stronger does he think? Because you have to use kind of the distance separated between the 2 tight ends. Like what's Taysom Hill's realistic projection and what are you giving up? Is that your is it a 6-point difference between him and Waller? Is it a 16-point? Does he make that up at the running back? I have to believe that if he's that strong, I probably just neutralize and go Taysom Hill as well. If there's a game script involved with the actual league, know your settings and your rules. I haven't played in that enough to feel real confident with that strategy, but based off of my projections, I would probably just neutralize with Taysom.
Yeah, this is the league. I should be playing him in the championship, and I'm really mad about it. I lost as me and another team. Is a weird scoring system how it works, but we ended up having to play each other even though we were the 2 best records and the most points in the first round. He got 33 points out of Myers, the kicker, in that one night and beat me by 7 points. And then Myers came back and scored 2 points the next week. If it wasn't for that, I'd be in the championship game against him, and we wouldn't even have to talk about this. But that's just me bitching a little bit about me losing in the first round to 33 points from a kicker.
There you go. And a couple people in the chat want to say hello to Ben Hartley's here. Good to see you, man. Brandon Hallam. Good morning. Mr. Scampers. Jamie Parag. Epic Fail has a question with he's starting Jeffrey Simmons and Alex Highsmith. Would you start Jalen Carter or Jared Verse over any of those in a 6-point sack, 2-point QB hit league? And while you guys answer that, guys, I too probably could use some coffee. So Jorge, I'm going to put you in charge. I'm going to go get my matching coffee mug so you and I can match on air. Aww. Yay. And I'll be back in a few.
All right. So on Shoot the Gap this past week, JT, you and I were talking about how people need to stop thinking of Alex Highsmith as being the 1B in terms of pass rushing metrics to TJ Watt's 1A. Alex Highsmith has actually been good at putting up a lot of tackle numbers also. So I haven't seen if Herbig is going to be out or if he's currently slotted to play. If Herbig is available on your waiver wire, I would feel comfortable given the sack points being 6 points per sack. I would be more comfortable having Herbig as my edge rusher. That being the case, let's assume that's not the case, right? Man, I definitely like Simmons. The Simmons is great. I would not start Carter or Verse over Simmons. The question now becomes Highsmith, Carter, or Verse. Given it's Cleveland, I think I'm going to go with I would start basically who he's starting already. To make a long-winded answer shorter.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm playing Highsmith in every league I have him. Like just the sack upside potential, especially in a 6-point sack league and a 2 QB hit. Because here's the thing with Highsmith, he doesn't always get home, but he always gets a decent amount of pressures per game. I think going against Cleveland, you gotta play Highsmith. And then Simmons has been such a terror on the inside. He's been getting sacks plus getting to the QB. I think I play both. It's hard to sit Verse. It really is. But both of those guys have been more productive than him lately. I think I go Simmons and Highsmith.
All right. Let's go. Thank you very much, Epic Fail, for the question. Excuse me, 3P1C Fail for the question. Champ 7519 wide receiver question. Trey Tucker with no Bowers in Vegas. Kyle Williams for the Patriots or Rashid Shaheed for the Seattle Seahawks. Let's go around the frames. Kyle, let's start with you.
Man, this one's really tough for me because I mentioned the wide receiver room being banged up in New England, which does make Kyle Williams a little intriguing for me, but it's still a dart throw. Like we still don't know how much volume Kyle Williams is going to receive, but man, he gets a huge leg up in this offense. I think I am going to take that stab with Kyle Williams because he's now the wide receiver 2 for New England for this week.
Right.
I'm going to take my chances. I'm going to go Kyle Williams, even though I don't like it. But out of these options, I think I'll go Kyle Williams.
What you, JT?
This feels like so many leagues that I'm trying to figure out what to do in. Well, I've got injuries. I'm trying to figure out flex spots and start 12-team leagues. Man, it's a tough.
To me, Kyle Williams is kind of JT. To me, Kyle Williams is kind of like Rashid Shaheed. He could catch a deep.
I think they're almost the same guy. Like I said, I think you're right. I think they're both high upside. You're hoping for a deep play because Shaheed's fighting with Kupp, JSN, Barner,
and
Williams is like Diggs and maybe Hunter Henry. I almost feel better. And you got to look at Carolina's secondary is so much better than the Jets secondary.
Yeah.
I think I got to go Kyle Williams. I know it's a long shot. I know he's had some bright spots, but he's not giving you a lot of big games. I could see Kyle Williams getting a bomb for May today in May. So Trey Tucker, you just can't trust him, man. If you go every waiver wire I'm on, you go, look, Trey Tucker's there and he's the highest scoring guy for the year. And then you click his game log and you realize it's 2 monster games and that offense is terrible. I just don't trust the Raiders at all, even though they're going against the Giants. If I'm going high upside play, I think I'm going Kyle Williams. And if you're real nervous about Kyle Williams and you just don't know if you want to do it, I go Shaheed next personally. But I think I'm playing the Kyle Williams let's go for it, baby. Let's just have a big game. Let's hope he catches
That's
a
all
bomb because he has shown he can do it. He just hasn't had a lot of opportunity. But like you said, Mac Hollins out, Boutte out. Like it is.
And then Pop Douglas is dealing with a hamstring.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you're going to see a lot of routes run for Kyle Williams today. He could be one of those sneaky guys that people like don't want to play him, and then he ends up winning you the week because you're like, bam, Kyle Williams had an awesome game out of nowhere.
There's always one guy, like in week 17.
There's always a guy that does that and wins guys championship. And you're like, I didn't want to play him, but I had to out of necessity, and you end up winning because of it.
And Kyle Williams is shaping up to maybe be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm going to be the Debbie Downer and say Trey Tucker.
Jorge.
I'm going to say, look, obviously 2 out of 3.
So close.
The consensus is going to be Kyle Williams out of all of us here, but Trey Tucker. You look at target percentage with Bowers in the past last week, rather. Trey Tucker 21.7%, Brock Bowers 21.7%. The next guy was Jack Besh with a 13% team target share. So that. We talk about the spike of games that Trey Tucker has had. I need to go back and see were those games that Bauer was not playing, when he was missing those games. And so that is something to take into consideration. But I do not fault anybody for wanting to go Kyle Williams, given the fact that he is probably going to be the number 2, if not he is the number 2 receiving option. But then again,
Tucker, like you're saying with the share, Jorge, sorry to jump back in. But I think Tucker's maybe the floor play. Like you're saying, because like if you look at his stats the last like 10 games, he's all right around 28, 25, 30, 40, 44 yards with like 3 or 4 catches. So he's like right in there. He's probably going to get you 5, 6, 7 points in a PPR. But like I think if you're shooting for the moon, Kyle Williams is the shoot for the moon play. But I do what you're saying. Tucker has not had more than 47 yards in a game since week 6.
Long time.
So, like I said, I think he's a decent floor play in that you're probably going to get 3-4 catches for maybe 30, 40 yards. But if you want that deep possible touchdown, long play bonuses, if you have those, I know I'm the only guy with bonuses in my leagues. Kyle Williams is the guy for me.
Yeah, consensus Kyle Williams. And we have a very special guest on the show. Nate, would you like to do the honors?
This is Mary. Carrie got her for me Christmas. She's
Mary,
sweetie. She's a rescue. So if you have a chance to rescue the animal from the shelter, they could use your love. And she's adorable.
I saw
my kids would be so freaking jealous right now. They're like, can we get a dog for Christmas? Like, and then my girlfriend's son was like, yeah, I told the littles that like we get them a dog for Christmas. I was like, no. My house is a disaster. We have too many people in here already, too much stuff. I was like, you guys got dogs at other houses? Like, I was like, we don't have space because I know what will happen is I'll take care of the dog every day, and I'm like, I don't have the time to do it. So
we had to put our dog of 14 years down last New Year's Eve, actually. And so it was it's been about a year. And during Christmas time, probably 10 different people said, oh, you guys going to get Nate a dog for Christmas? And nobody had any clue. Carrie had her picked out since last Monday and kept it a secret all the way until the day after Christmas. And so she's surprised.
Did you go to the shelter to even see Mary or okay?
Nope. She FaceTimed me from the shelter and said, meet Mary. This is our new dog. So she did great. She's a Staffordshire Terrier. So that's exactly.
She's so
cute. She's a sweetheart.
I look
forward to being down here, so I'm gonna take her back upstairs, and I'll be back.
Alrighty. So his wife posted, Carrie Markham posted a picture of Mary lying on her lap, and Mary's smile was like through the roof. It was one of those things where like, Nate having a new dog, that's awesome. Mary, she looks fantastic. She seems like she's fantastic.
Yeah.
But she's smiling. She it's one of those things where like, we often think of it from our perspective of like, we are so happy from our pets. But then it's like, yeah, but the pets are also, you can tell when they're really feeling at home and they feel really happy. And that's just, I'm so happy for Nate. That is great news. Yeah. All right, let's get back to some of our questions here. Mr. Scampers, non-PPR, that's the way. BTJ at Indy, Devonta Smith at Buffalo, or T-Mac versus Seattle. Kyle?
Yeah, this one's tough between Devontae and T-Mac for me, but man, BTJ's out for me. But man, Devontae Smith, it's hard to sit the Eagles against the Bills today. I'm going to go Devontae Smith, even though I like what T-Mac has done throughout the course of the season, but I think I'm going to rate Devontae Smith just a tick higher than T-Mac for this week.
I'm going to agree with you there. Let's go to Frosty126. JT, let's start with you this time. He needs 3. Pitts, Hendo, Ramondre, Burden.
Well,
Sampson.
Burden's one of them. We know that, right?
Yeah.
I love Burden. I love me some Burden. I think Pitts, man, I tell you what, I feel like there's going to be so many people upset after this week because there's no way Hendo and Ramondre both go off, right? Like, it's like you need them both, but like there's going to be a ton of people out there that have to pick or choose which guy to play. They're going to play him, and whoever you pick is going to end up burning you.
I have done it, though, in the regular season with those two, JT, throughout the regular. I have done both of those, and it worked out okay. But like you said,
I don't mind.
Both.
I'm one of those weird guys. I don't mind playing 2 running backs on the same team if I know they're going to get touches. So I'm usually on that. Sampson is, it's an interesting play. He's been banged up. You got to figure he's getting more of the touches for the Browns. The other thing you got to look at, that's the lowest total of the week, and it's by far. So people that aren't gambling people, the total over-under right now is 35 for that Steelers-Browns game. That is insanely low per NFL standards. Like, that is like touching the lowest pregame open under in a while. Like, anything like 35 or under is just crazy low. So they're assuming that's going to be an all defensive game. I don't want probably any player on the Browns if I don't have to play them. I know I'm playing some Fannin and some Sanders because I have to. I'm going Pitts. I could see Hendo and Ramondre. I could see you playing both. I'm playing the upside of Burden just because I really feel like he's in for a good week this week. When he crashes and burns, I'm going to eat all the hate mail from everyone who said I played him because of you. I'll take it. But I think I'm going Pitts, Burden, and Henderson over Ramondre. I know he's coming off the concussion. He's got bigger upside for me in the fact that you could get some big plays. I think Ramondre is the safe play, but I don't know if I want to totally play it safe in the championship game. So I'm going Pitts, Hundo, Burden.
Yeah, for the record, I'm with you on that one, JT.
Likewise. All right, Jamie's in the chat. What's up, Jamie? This is right up your alley, JT. Tight end premium, Darren Waller, or Pittman here for the Colts, and then Waller, of course, for the Dolphins.
I'll go before I throw it to Kyle. I'm like Kyle, like he said, I'm not a big Waller guy, so it's hard for me to start him anywhere. Almost any other time, I would say this is a smash Pittman. But man, you look at the target share and the catches with Phillip Rivers have not been good for Pittman. He is basically a ghost out there right now. I'm sitting Pittman in pretty much every league unless I have to play him. And with the 1 point tight end premium, give me Waller. I just think he's going to see a higher target share. And the fact that you're not having to count on Waller for a touchdown in this scenario, like he doesn't have to get a touchdown to get you points. I'm slightly going Waller, and I have to tell you, my face, I feel like I have that emoji where there's the puke coming out. I'm like puking right now that I'm actually saying Waller over Pittman. But in this tight end premium, I got to go Waller here.
What about you, Kyle?
I'm sticking with Michael Pittman. I'm still pushing Waller way down my rankings.
I'll take it. I love at least somebody else.
Yeah, I
feel like I'm always pro Colts player, so I'm like, I feel like
Superman
I
mug.
can't.
Yes.
That's great.
You know, Jacksonville's ranked middle of the pack for fantasy points allowed to wide receivers, and I know that Pittman really hasn't done much as of late with Phillip Rivers, but I feel like he's got more of an opportunity to do more than Darren Waller, even with the 1 point tight end premium. I'm gonna go Michael Pittman, even though I want to vomit, but yeah.
I know. That's how I feel. I really wish Tua was playing, to be honest with you. If Tua was playing, I probably would smash Waller with Tua, but I just don't like Quinn Ewers at all. It just feels dirty. Feels dirty saying that. So I will do that with the asterisk. I said Waller, and I hate every part of it that I said Waller, and I didn't say Pittman. So
Nate, can you break the tie?
I can. I don't know if I want to necessarily. I was leaving on a high note with just puppy dogs, and she's not even a puppy. She's 4 years old, but she's a puppy to me, and coffee. But the 1 point tight end premium is like, I mean, if you just take last week's and production, the 10 points he scored is just, I mean, I don't want to say it's a safer floor, and I don't want to say that's his floor either. But it's more than, I mean, Michael Pittman scored more than 10 twice in the last month and a half. It's just, it sucks. Because I can see a really bad case for nothing. But I think Jacksonville has been much better defensively. The real question and concern I have is Darren Waller is playing similar to like the Dalton Kincaid playing half the route running snaps, and he has to have big play to be able to produce, kind of like Kincaid was doing. But I think that he has the upside. It's not a quarterback concern. Normally, like we would say, hey, all right, well, perfect. I'm starting this guy over. Now it's, what I don't want to call him washed up because he's been retired for 4 years. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say, I'm breaking the tie with Darren Waller. Sorry, that was way long-winded. I apologize.
All right. Let's get to the next question here. Would you start Marvin Harrison or Emeka Egbuka this week? It'd be Marvin Harrison. Like, I don't know. I'm even looking.
I'm sitting Marvin Harrison in a lot of spots, but given between these two, I'm probably playing Marvin Harrison. I just think that game has a chance to be a high-scoring game. Can he get one? Maybe. It's going to be iffy. I mean, you're playing with fire. He's been banged up, and he's just not played great lately. But for me, I got to go Marvin Harrison over Buka.
Yeah, it's tough because, Harrison with that injury, like you mentioned, he only had a 54.5% route share last week, catching one ball for 14 yards. He's going to be shadowed by DJ Turner. That's tough, man. That's really tough. But given that, man, Egbuka being the third man in that Tampa wide receiver room, it's really hard to go with him. You take Marvin Harrison and you just hope for, because you know what, they're going to have to pass the ball a lot, right?
So you're just praying that they're just throwing the ball everywhere and he gets a couple, right?
It's got to be at least 30 plus pass attempts for a percent. So I'll take Marvin Harrison, but I don't feel good about it.
All right. Let's get to the next one here.
They're going to have to keep up with Cincinnati, so that's the only thing.
Jorge, I don't know if you saw that right before that comment. Scampers had the question about Devontae Smith or T-Mac. He says that T-Mac is sick. I have not seen that, but if he's battling an illness, that would maybe push me to play Devontae Smith over him, even though I picked T-Mac. I think that's close. So if it's close and he is under the weather, I would maybe go Devontae Smith. Just saw that comment.
All right.
Yeah, there's been a lot of injuries illnesses this week.
My girlfriend's got the flu, and of course she's trying to be all over me and give me the flu. That's love, right? That's what they do. So,
indeed. Nate, you want me to keep going, or do you want to take over?
No, I'll take over. Charlene is back with gross questions version 17.0 for the season, and we're here for him. I have to scroll through. So, Jorge, if you'll put up gross question number 1, if she has gross question, or if that was just a statement. Nope.
I got it. I just threw it up there.
You're confirmed. Phillip Rivers, Kirk Cousins. Seems like an ageist way of calling it gross. Us people in our like that, Charlene, just so you know. But these two young men, between Phillip Rivers and Kirk Cousins, both are my younger, so I can say that. These two young, fine gentlemen. Who you choose in between?
Oh,
I know.
JT, you want me to start?
Yeah, you start.
Yeah, you dive into this one. Let me think about it for a minute.
Let's get gross. For quarterbacks, I'm going to go Kirk Cousins here on Monday Night Football. I'm going to take Kirk over Phillip Rivers. I know Rivers had a decent game last week, but I think I trust Cousins just a hair bit more. And then in the flex, Pearsall may not even play, right? He's dealing with some situations and injuries. Tipton, I don't want to go there. And the Queen's Classic, Charlene, you guys might know too. Is that tight end premium by chance?
I believe all the classics have a
little bit of a premium there. I'm going Tonjes then. I'm going to go Tonjes then. Let's do that with he's done well with George Kittle being out of the lineup. So let's roll with him. Let's do that.
All right. I got a question here from Dylan. PPR, need one. Kyle Williams, Blake Corum, Dylan Sampson, Adonai Mitchell. Kyle, let's just throw it back to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really like. Man, it's between Kyle Williams and Blake Corum. I got to go Blake Corum here. He gets so much volume there. He even catches the ball for your PPRs, Dylan. So let's do Blake Corum. I feel good about that.
I don't know if it changes. I don't think theirs is tight end premium.
Oh, I'll still go Tonjes. Though between those other options.
It's close. If it's tight end premium, definitely Tonjes. If not, I probably would lean Leggett, but that's rough.
I'm just shooting for a touchdown.
And I've actually played Phillip Rivers in 2 championships, and both of them are 1 quarterback leagues. If that freaking tells you how bad it's gotten, and for me, I'm actually starting Rivers in a championship game in 2 leagues where I had to pick him up in a 1 QB league and start him. Oh, it's disgusting. I need a shootout. I need a shootout in Indy today. I'm going Corum. Mitchell and Williams are like I'm shooting for the moon. Upside, they catch a long ball for a touchdown. I think you got to go Corum, though, to play it safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm in 35 championships, and I have to start them. That's why I put #humble brag, as you should. That is the type. That's what people want to listen to. They want to listen to the person that's in championships, not me.
It's just like I can understand a super flex, right? A super flex, like, all the quarterbacks hurt, you got to play a bunch of guys. But in a 1 QB league, I have Danny Dimes on the IR. I have Anthony Richardson on the IR. I have Justin Fields on the IR. I have out Lamar Jackson. This is a 1 QB league. This is freaking sickening.
That's horrible.
Lamar Jackson's out. I was between Huntley and Rivers, and I almost put Huntley in at the last second, but I was like, I'm hoping for a shootout, and I'm playing some Colts wide receivers. So I last second was going to maybe put Huntley in, and I didn't get him in time. So now I'm rolling Rivers. This is not supposed to be the stuff. This is the times when people are like, you don't really need 2 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks in 1 QB league. And I'm like, are you sure? You sure? Because
it's too bad. It's too bad, JT. You didn't have the confidence in Malik Willis, because I'm sure he was available for you.
But
you probably didn't even consider it.
I went to go get him. off the waiver wire, and the guy that had Jordan Love already had picked him up. I was like, dang it.
While Jorge is gone, since I don't want to, make him upset. Les Maynard, family member of the Fantasy and Frames crew, had messaged to Jorge and I yesterday about Malik Willis or Bryce Young. And Jorge responded back with Bryce Young. I responded back with Malik Willis. So, of course, he's torn. He's like, great. I don't know what to do.
Who does he trust? So who did he go with, Nate?
Say he might have gotten 30 points out of his quarterback already.
He trusted Nate.
Yeah, I wouldn't say trusted. I would say that maybe he was leaning Malik Willis, and he needed one of us to push him instead of, if both of us would have said Bryce Young, he would have changed. But yeah, I think we all know.
Man,
As
I
long
can't.
as
Can you guys? I can't imagine that game. I thought that game had like 16-13, 13-10 written all over it going in. And then
Sure.
all of a sudden we see offensive explosions from two backup QBs, and King Henry, of course, being the guy that absolutely crushes, which was I made a comment on Twitter. I was like, oh, really pumped. I paid 2 second-round draft picks for Derrick Henry like 3-4 weeks ago for my team that's in the championship. Is great. My other team I lost before he could kill it. So hey, at least he crushed it for me in a third place game.
Exactly. Guys, I might have missed this. Did you answer Dylan's question here?
We said Corum. We said Corum is the safe play. He's the thing. If you going for the moon, Kyle Williams possibly, but we said Corum's the play there.
Very good. And so
I think we're on Trey's question.
Yep,
the next.
That's what I'm thinking. So Trey says, "Morning, gents. He hopped on the ship last week. We got to help him commandeer it. So with Kittle out, assuming Kittle out, and we're going to just take that assumption. Tongas or Strange, also May or T-Law. Thanks and good luck, everyone." So we had the same question with May and T-Law, and we agreed it was T-Law. It was not. It wasn't easy, but it was T-Law in this situation. Kyle, you didn't get a chance to vote on that. If you want to have a say now, you can. If not, jump right into Tongas or Strange. We had a very similar question this earlier where we all agreed on Strange. So do you want to agree with this or disagree?
I think I'm actually agreeing with you. I like Strange, and man, it is really hard with Drake May or T-Law. I would go T-Law here. Unfortunately, I've been such a big Drake May guy. One of my highest owned quarterbacks in all my leagues is Drake May, but I'm finding every chance I can get to find somebody else to play because the wide receivers that are down for Drake May, the offensive line is banged up as well. I'm in a league where I have Drake May where I get -2 for a sack. I'm not starting Drake May. I'm actually in a lot of those leagues, I'm starting Jacoby Brissett over Drake May, and I do like Trevor Lawrence, but the way he's dealing right now, I would go T-Law over Drake May.
There you go. Now,
hey,
Charlene,
I'm on #Jag Stack all day. Strange T-Law all day long.
It's really hard for me to pick Jaguars, but
I know I'm a Colts guy. Like I said, I sold my tickets and because I was like, my Travis Hunter's hurt. My son wanted to go to the game. He's a huge Travis Hunter fan. When Travis Hunter was out, I was like, hey, do you want to go to the game anymore if he doesn't play? He's like, no. And then I was like, oh, that's championship week for fantasy. I was like, do I want to be at the game checking my phone the entire time for fantasy? I'm like, nah, I'm just going to sell my tickets and I'm going to stay home, be on the show and watch the games. And so I am, because the Colts are completely out of it now with the Houston win yesterday, I feel like I'm not going against them to root for the Jags to have an awesome game today, even though I'm typically a Jags hater, being an AFC South Colts fan, but I'm all over. Let's get a lot of points today. Hey, let's get 60 plus in that game today. Let's go all out, Jags Colts.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Can you imagine if they sat Jonathan Taylor and they're like, "Hey, we're done. You're out." People would be flipping.
please
out.
don't do that.
I had multiple friends text me when Houston won yesterday, and they go, dude, is there any way the Colts sit JT since they're out of it? And I'm like, I don't think so. But I was like, that would be the ultimate slap in the face if they actually did. And people were also like, hey, are they going to play Riley Leonard over Phillip Rivers now that they're out of it? I'm like, you don't bring Phillip Rivers back, do all this just to sit him with 2 games left. I think they play him at least this week.
Yeah.
If everything else goes bad, I think you can maybe see Riley Leonard next week, but Phil Rivers is playing this week.
Here's what makes me feel good about the Colts and them playing this week. They prepared to play for this week. They practiced and they prepared all these starters to play because they thought they maybe had something to play for. They don't now, but they're not going to send these backups in that didn't practice all week. So
it's also a division game where they've kind of gotten owned by the Jags lately. I think there's a little bit of hatred there. I think they want to win this game, and I think they want to knock off the Jags and end this losing streak. I really think they do. I think they want to see Phillip Rivers get a win. So I think the Colts are going to come out and play their ass off. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm hoping it's a good game, but I'm also hoping there's 1 million fantasy points. Oh, Charlene, point per rush attempt. I love it. I love it. This is great.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead and take it, JT.
Yeah, this was designed for you specifically. This is your dream league. You got to choose 3 of them.
Oh, this is great. Tight end premium with 0.25 per rush attempt, which if you don't do 0.25 per rush attempt in your league, especially in Dynasty, if running backs have kind of like fallen off and everybody wants to just QB and wide receiver, do 0.25 per rush attempt. I added that in my Dynasty league 2 years ago, and the values of running backs have gone way up, and they were like bottom out, and they have gone way up now. Need 3 flex. Trey McBride, Jawan Johnson, Parkinson, Corum, Kyron Hendo. Woo! This is a good group here. Got to play Trey McBride. That's an absolute must. Slam dunk. Got to play him.
And Kyron.
I'm playing Kyron. You got to play Kyron, especially in 0.25 per rush attempt. The third one is real tough here. I like Hendo and Corum both, but Jawan Johnson in a tight end premium, he's played really well lately. He's gotten a pretty good amount of target share. I'm probably Hendo is the upside play. He could go off for you. I'm a little slightly worried with him coming back late from the concussion, how much they're going to use him. I'm Kyron McBride for sure. You guys do the tiebreaker between Jawan Johnson and Hendo for me. I'm probably slightly leaning Jawan Johnson here because he has been so good with the tight end premium.
I would go Hendo as the third, but I don't hate you if you didn't really bring it up, but I don't hate them if they go Corum and Kyron in this situation. Yeah. But for me, I don't really want to do that, but I don't hate it. But I would go Hendo.
I
would go Johnson, but it wouldn't be easy.
Yeah,
I think Hendo is the upside play, like going for playing for the explosion. If you're like, hey, I have a really good lineup, I'm in the mix, I just need someone to score solid. I think Jawan Johnson's the floor play where I think in a tight end premium, I'm expected 14, 15 points out of him in a tight end premium league. Hendo, like I said, he could be the blow up game though.
Of the de facto fill-in offensive coordinator, head coach for the Patriots. And I'm thinking if they actually do get up 13.5 coming off of the concussion protocol, why put Henderson in, more involved script towards the end of the game? And while he only needs 9 touches to legitimately put up the same type of numbers that Jawan Johnson can, I try to probably – I feel like Jawan Johnson's going to be involved, like we said earlier, incentive-wise as well as involvement-wise. It's the tiebreaker of a really close matchup for me. Jorge, anything to add?
Yeah, no, nothing to add.
Okay.
Just going to stay out of that one.
That's why you're here.
Exactly. I'm just a pretty face. That's all.
Well, here, you can do this then.
There you go.
Oh, it's for me going to be Burrow over May. I don't care about the illness. This is going to be a target funnel going towards Ted McMillan. So those Brian Thomas, no. DJ Moore, you made a reference to it last hour. Really awesome in overtime. Really awesome in a few plays in the fourth quarter. But with Burden coming back, how much does that siphon away target volume to DJ Moore? So I'm going with the number 1 wide receiver here for their respective teams, where the target volume is not going to be challenged by anybody else.
There you go. And Brandon says this is a Philip legacy game. Yes, that's exactly what we all were thinking. Charlene saying about the Queens Classic, it's not tied in premium. Carter Harris, good morning. Half-point PPR. Pick 2 between Jennings, Swift, Brian Thomas Jr., Michael Carter, Khalil Shakir. And this is, I'm guessing, just 2 flex spots. So Jawan Jennings, DeAndre Swift, Brian Thomas Jr., Michael Carter, Khalil Shakir. JT, earlier you touched on, one of you guys did, that Khalil Shakir should be heavily targeted. I also agree because of the incentives for him to get to his yardage totals. JT, start us off. Who are you 2 in the half-point PPR?
Oh, then this was close as half point. Man, full point I'm on most of these wide receivers. Half point, I kind of like some of these running backs. Jennings, Man, no Kittle. Purcell probably out. You got to figure Jawan Jennings is going to see a lot of targets. I'm kind of leaning there. Swift has been good. Michael Carter has been getting all the touches. As we talked about earlier, the Bengals giving up like 6 yards per carry lately. Man, Swift and the Bears feel like they got it going. This is a big game. I'm probably leaning Jennings Swift with my QB between Hurts or Lawrence. We talked about it. I'm on Team Jags today. I think Lawrence has a big game. I still like Hurts today, but I like T-Law. I'm going T-Law QB, Jennings, and Swift as my 2 flex. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you for those exact reasons. Jawan Jennings is also close to an incentive. And with Ricky Pearsall and Kittle probably out, I'm going to go Jennings here and Swift.
Yep, we are all in agreement here. A nice little hello from the Dynasty Rewind. What's going on? Welcome, Dynasty Rewind. Mike Bauer and his crew over there gearing up for Dynasty season, which technically, you know what? It's Dynasty season all year long, believe it or not. We're always making moves in our Dynasty leagues, no matter what time of year. All right, let's go to Andrew's question here. Andrew Williams, 4005. Morning, guys. Morning to you. Full PPR, need a flex. Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison on a snap count, Taysom Hill, Dylan Sampson, or Darren Waller. Is Marvin Harrison going to be on the snap count? We thought, he was last week. Is that still going to be the case this week? Is the issue here? Man,
Jorge, for me, I've got Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. and a couple teams together. I will just say this. I am playing Wilson over Harrison in that spot. I am playing them both in a couple leagues, but if I have to pick one, I'm playing Wilson. I think we've talked about Brissett's going to have to throw the ball a ton. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think he's going to have 1 million pass attempts. I'm going Wilson there. To me, he's just the safest play out of all those guys.
Yeah, I have Wilson 20th, and I have Marvin Harrison 30. So by default, I'm going Wilson in this situation. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm going to go Michael Wilson here. I project DJ Turner to shadow Marvin Harrison Jr. So because of that, I will definitely go Michael Wilson.
All right. And then he has a follow-up question. Baker Mayfield. Wow, Jorge can talk today. Baker Mayfield or Jacoby Brissett or Brisket. No points per completion. 0.04. So standard, typical 0.04 passing yards. Points per passing yards, excuse me. For me, it's Brissett. This is a pass heavy game that's going to be happening. So yeah, give me all of that.
Team stack. Brissett, Wilson. Lock it in.
Love it. So we got some comments here. Got Trey in the chat saying, thanks, fellas. Absolutely. Thank you all who are tuning in, who have been tuning in all morning and every morning, every Sunday for the Fantasy and Frames Sunday pregame show. We really do. We love it. We like, there are some Saturday nights, not going to lie, where we're out. And then we're like, man, 9 a.m. or depending on which time zone you're in, 8 a.m., that's going to come quick. And it takes us a couple cups of coffee before we go on air. And but we show up and we make sure that we get you all the information that we have and give you all our analysis. And we really appreciate y'all tuning in each and every week this season. Got Brandon in the chat saying making the playoffs is nice. Saying he beat the Jags team with Grandpa Phillip Rivers is infamy. That's funny. Andrew's in the chat saying I should have said meat field or brisket. Yeah, you should have, Andrew. So
that is fantastic. That is the great nicknames, meat field and brisket.
You know how like on Sleeper you can like give nicknames to players, like in all my dynasty leagues where I have Brissett or I almost did it again. Mayfield. I know. In fact, I did do it again. Mayfield. There now Meatfield and Brisket going forward. Let's see. We got Dynasty Rewind here. Hard to believe the fantasy season is coming to an end. Here's to another great year. Absolutely. And like we here at Fantasy and Frames, our Dynasty content is going to be starting up pretty soon after the new year. And you know what? It wouldn't be right without doing some collabing with Dynasty Rewind like we have in the past. And so, Mike Bauer and gentlemen, if you're listening and watching out there, we'd love to have you on some of our shows and to talk shop. And because that's the thing. We get to it, and it's prospect time, prospect analysis, and combine, and then free agency, and then how does that affect startup draft value, and then dynasty risers and fallers. I know Kyle loves the risers and fallers article. He cranks out a lot of those in the off season. So and of course we have Dynasty 365, our Dynasty podcast. We have Shoot the Gap, where we'll cover IDP Dynasty with JT and myself. And we're actually going to be introducing a mock draft show only. We have our draft show with Stacey Perez, which is run during the summer, where we basically take you through different tournament formats, and we'll actually do those drafts live on the show. Whereas we're going to have just a dedicated mock draft show, getting you ready for any type of league that you're in. And even if you're not a big believer in mock drafts, drafting is just fun. So why don't you just hop in and join some of these drafts for us and let us know what you think. Dynasty Rewind goes on to say, pencil me in, and is saying that it is Mike. What's up, Mike? Let's go back to some questions here. Andrew Williams, 4005 in the chat again. Different league, PPR, need 2 running backs and 1 flex. Janty, Tracy, Walker, Burden, DJ Moore, and a PPR. This is where I'm going to go with JT's boy, Luther Burden, and saying that this is probably the 1 flex I would roll with. And then for me, running back wise, it would be Walker and Janty.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Walker, Genty for sure. And yeah, I'll go Luther Burden here. I'll go because you know what, the DJ Moore had a great stat line, but like you guys said, it took the very last pass play of Caleb Williams for DJ Moore to really hit double digits in that one. So I'll go Luther Burden.
How about you, Nate?
The only debate I'm having is between Kenneth Walker and Tyrone Tracy. And Tracy just really over the last month or 3 weeks, I guess, the volume's there, the production's there. Not that we thought that having Max Crosby in or out was going to be a huge boom or bust for the running game, but I do think that I lean Tyrone Tracy just a smidge. So I would go myself as Tracy and Genty. Mm-hmm. And then the flex, I'm right there with Luther Burden as well. I love DJ Moore for last week. I don't know if I told you what had happened is on Missouri now has draft sports betting allowed, and my degenerate side is fully invested. Mind you, $20 entry is all I did. I do not necessarily condone heavy betting, 1-800-bets off if you do. But I decided to put a little $20 bet. I had won a couple others, so I built up a little bankroll. And I had a 6-leg parlay, which I hate too. But the final 2 pieces of that were DJ Moore over 4 catches or 4 catches plus, Jaden Reed 3 catches plus. Last Saturday, we were going to look at Christmas lights with the kids, and the first 4 legs hit from the earlier games. I told Carrie I wanted to cash out. She said, basically in her words, don't be a bitch. And I said, that's not like you. All right. I like it. Well, we enter into the Illinois side where you could not check and change my bet. So I no longer could cash out. So I have to let it ride. And as we're heading back, both Jaden Reed and the aforementioned DJ Moore had 0 catches and 1 catch. DJ Moore catches obviously 3 more before. And we go to stop to grab a bite that night. And the overtime being forced on we all know what happened, the crazy, remarkable comeback and kickoff return. And then Jaden Reed caught that last, his most needed 3rd catch in the overtime. And that secured a $20 bet to win $976. So,
wow.
All right.
It was, so I thank you, Carrie, for not letting me be a bitch. Like Mike from Dynasty Rewind is, Mike Bauer. Big bitch. I saw what he put. Nate put a bet on the Chiefs to win the West. I saw it. I don't care. It ain't what it is.
I know. I knew as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, he saw it.
Oh, I saw it, of course. I see everything.
Nate sees everything.
I laugh about that, Nate, because like my girlfriend's always like, take the cash out. Take the cash out. I'm like, no, I want her to let it ride. She's always like, take the cash out. Take the cash out. So I like that your wife was like, let that sucker ride. I love it.
Yep. It was a
with the
very,
heart emoji from Dynasty Rewind. All right, JT, epic fail wants to know Malachi Moore or Tyke Smith, 6 points per interception, 1.5 points per tackle.
I know you love Moore. I like Moore too. I'm playing him a ton of spots. Man, Tyke Smith's been like the top DB pretty much all year for IDP, depending on your scoring. Man, it's hard for me not to play. I can't give up on Tyke Smith at this point. If I've been writing him all year, I got to play him. So I'm going Tyke, but I think it's real close.
I'm going to go Moore. I just like his box snap usage percentage, and given the game script against the Patriots, he should probably see a lot more quote-unquote volume and opportunity. So I'm going to go with Moore in that situation. So basically, we just confused the hell out of you, epic fail or a 3P1C fail. You are welcome. And speaking of being welcome, Andy Behrens, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good. 3P1C fail. Oh, I had forgotten that briefly. It's all coming back to me. Yeah, I'm good. I'm nervous. I got the fantasy sweats today. I got the best ball sweats today, but things are good.
Nice.
I do not. I believe that it's kind of nice to watch football, I guess. No, you know what? It's not. I was going to say it's not. Oh, it's so relieving just to watch football and not care. It's stupid. I don't want to watch it. I'm just going to sit. I'm probably going to, I'm going to find something else to watch. I may watch the Illini basketball versus the Mizzou game again, because that was worth watching. I mean,
that was freaking brutal. Oh my! I tell you what, I almost always go to the bragging rights game. I think I've only missed like 3 games in the last probably 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I decided not to go. My girlfriend's like, "Are we going to go to the game?" I was like, "Oh, Colts have Monday night home game against the Niners." Colts lost the game, which sucked, but it was a super exciting game. It was fun, and I had my phone charged up, ready to go, just so I could watch the game at the game on my phone. I watched about 4 minutes of that game, and again, I went to Mizzou, but I live in Champaign, grew up in Champaign, so I still root for Illinois. I was like, oh, I'm glad we didn't go to that freaking game, because holy crap, Illinois just destroyed Missouri, and then Missouri, just to kick me in the nuts one more time, played one of the worst football games I've ever seen last night against Virginia. Absolutely ugly. You take out your All-American running back leading the nation in rushing on 4th and 2 with the season on the line, game on the line, and we sit him and have our freshman quarterback coming off a broken ankle and run the ball on a quarterback keeper on 4th and 2. So yeah, that good to be a Mizzou fan here of late. Let's just say that.
I'm noticing some anger in your voice. Yeah, that is...
little upset. Hoping to work it out today, win some bets, win some championships, and I'll feel better about it. But I was pretty unhappy last night as they took it on a chin. And like I said, if you get outplayed is one thing, but when you just play terrible, that angers me when you just play awful.
Hey, the ReliaQuest Bowl is coming up. You could jump on this Iowa bandwagon. Come on.
Yeah,
there you go. Hey, I could jump on the hey, I can't hate the Hawkeyes. The jerseys look like the Steelers. It's great colors, great, and the Hawkeye. I tell you what, and the Hawkeye. I tell you what, it's a really cool logo. So I'm always down for that.
I'm about to attend this ReliaQuest Bowl. I've probably been to. I've surely been to more Outback / ReliaQuest Bowls than anyone. Maybe
nice. In the history of mankind.
It's my home away from home in. Around the holidays.
So Andy feels good about it. I'm showing my Iowa mini helmet. So see,
what a kiss
ass. Everything.
By the way,
I'm like, Andy, please be my friend. Please be my friend.
Barely recognized Nate without his Raiders visor.
I almost said something earlier, and I was like, I'm just gonna wait till Andy comes on and says something about not having the Raiders visor on. I almost said it at the beginning of the show, and I was like, I'm just gonna hold off on that.
Well, when they decided to bench Max Crosby, I figured that we have philosophical differences, so I had to no longer root for the Raiders. I don't think that there's a money first approach. I'm always team first. As you guys all know, no financial need. And there's a question in the chat. It's about as gross as the other ones that we've had all morning, as you can imagine, which is fitting for a fantasy championship. Everybody, I think, outside eyes just assume every fantasy championship team is going to be like, oh, do I start Bijan Robinson or Saquon? I shouldn't say Saquon. They're not making the championship.
Yep.
You get the idea. Nope. Instead, you get a PPR flex choice of Michael Carter or Zach Charbonnet. He just wants to know, actually, who's more likely to hit their projection. Andy, you're new. This seems you're written all over it.
Yeah, I don't have this choice in particular, but I hear what you're saying. Like, I have a very good team in which the two running backs this week are Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who I picked up like day of game, and Michael Carter. Like, I think workload's going to be there for Michael Carter, and he's obviously facing a cupcake defense. So that's where I'd go. That framing it as like who's more likely to hit their projection is a little funny. I basically never look at the projections because you can get tripped up that way, and you can wander into projections are silly, right? Like there's a high degree of specificity to something that is really just, I don't know, it's kind of guesswork. I don't get too tied to that, but I think Carter, just on volume alone, is probably more likely to come in at double digit points.
Yeah, I would lean Michael Carter as well. I don't know if I want to speak for the rest of you guys, but it seems like Michael Carter's been a choice for many of us so far, and in a lot of similar but even more lopsided questions from earlier. We've gotten some good ones. Do you have any? Oh yeah, we'll switch the role for you, Andy. Do you have any start sit questions, since you guys good for me last week? I can't wait to help out with this week. Any ones you're debating on?
I don't know that there's a lot of debate. And I've kind of settled on the idea that Taysom Hill is actually going to have maybe not last week's workload, but a beefy workload. I feel embarrassed that I didn't recognize the possibility that he could just simply be the Saints' featured back last week, and of course he was. So I don't know. You guys want to go around and tell me exactly how high or how low you are on Taysom Hill? I'll listen to it. I've benched Tyler Warren for him in a couple spots.
Kyle is your man because he has been waxing poetic about Taysom Hill all week.
Yeah. I'm kind of torn here, Andy, with Taysom Hill because he's gonna probably torch us again. The running back room in New Orleans is banged up, Andy, and they ran Taysom Hill last week. Why would they change it now? The running backs are still banged up, so he'll probably get a big, heavy workload there in the red zone again. And I'm glad you were on the plus side of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt because I ran into the buzzsaw of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. So I'm still licking my wounds over that one. And then in another league, I ran into Cat 22, Derrick Henry. Yeah. So I'm really hurting over here.
Yeah,
I'm glad to see you on the plus side.
I have a best ball lineup that is very live, that like I think has some nice points of differentiation from other teams, and it had somewhat randomly had JCM on it, right? So I've already got his points in the bank, and like I feel really good about it, except it does not have Derrick Henry, and there's probably like 6 other people still alive who did have Derrick Henry, and I can't imagine a scenario where it's not a Henry-led roster that wins it.
Yeah, that is pretty evident. I think that after last night that many fantasy lives will be saved or taken away at the hands of Derrick Henry. And to answer your Taysom Hill question, I moved him into the tight end 6-7 range. That's how, because he was, I think, before the week started, in the middle teens. And I had to make that, and I'm looking at the names, and it's like, yeah, Dallas Goedert has been consistent, and just the propensity for, I keep saying these high value touches, and it's like in every scenario, it just makes sense that Taysom Hill the upside is way too high. And I don't think there's a floor that's lower than any of the guys after really Juwan Johnson, Hunter Henry, Brenton Strange range right there. So
yeah, it's a weird call, right? Because he's basically a running back. He's not exactly a tight end. Maybe last week was just like a final home game send off, but I mean, it's hard to imagine that they don't give him at least. I mean, if it's a half dozen carries, and those carries are in goal to go situations, or half of them are, and they're still giving him 3 or 4 how is that not a top 5 fantasy tight end in a week without George Kittle and Brock Bowers?
Yep.
Agreed completely. I'm right there with you, man. I wish I needed to play him for something, but maybe that's the game I'll watch. Maybe I'll watch the Taysom Hill game after years of hating him passionately because he's just ruined all my Alvin Kamara love over the years of.
Nate, next to his computer or next to his mouse pad has like the stack of DVDs you buy after a Super Bowl champion. It's like, get your commemorative DVD that talks about the team's journey throughout the past season. And he has them like queued up, ready to go as soon as football kicks off, and just relive the good memories, the glory days.
You think I have a DVD to relive the memories of the New Orleans Saints over the last 3 years? Like
no, but like the Chiefs.
Oh no, yeah. No, I'll be honest. I had to go back and watch the Super Bowl against the Eagles, the first one when they won, because I'm embarrassed to admit it. I didn't know who won the game after. We might have had more to drink than I probably should have, and I have not since then. Keep in mind, this is a learning lesson for everybody.
This whiskey.
This was bourbon, and I have not drank bourbon since. That's been, 3 years now. And I woke up in the middle. Terry will tell the story much better than I will. I woke up and it was about 4:30 in the morning, and in a panic, I checked my phone to look at the score of the game, and then I pumped my fist and I yelled out in bed, and she woke up and she's like, "What?" And I said, oh, "Thank God the Chiefs won the Super Bowl." And she goes, "No fucking shit. Of course they won." What is wrong? And I was like, and I don't remember. So yeah, that's the DVD I would have, so I can relive that and watch the holding that wasn't holding or whatever else, pass interference. I don't care.
We're going to agree to disagree with that one. Let's try to agree here with Ray Gamer 7046's answer to this question. Patriots or Seahawks defense in a standard set? Texans who got 9, and since Kittle is probably out in a standard DST, would you play Fannin or Strange in this situation? Well, isn't Fannin dealing with like a
groin
injury?
Yeah.
But I think he's going to play through it. But
yeah,
right.
I haven't seen anything that says he's not playing. So,
okay.
But I still am a strange guy. Like I said, right in
yes,
the Jags
you are.
day,
Yes,
I need a high. I am a very strange man. Very strange man. I am all over the Jags day, so I'm still going strange over that. Defensive wise, that's a toughie. I think I'm going Pats. I think they could end up shutting down the Jets today and scoring a lot of points for you defensively. So I'm Pats.
I would play the Pats too against a team that is just actively engaged in self-sabotage, right? Like you're definitely getting a handful of turnovers there and probably the best shot at a pick 6 from that game. It's not like I don't like the Seahawks this week, and I think I'm starting them a couple places, but if I had the Pats available to me, that is who I would play. I think they're my number 1 defense right now. And I hope the right answer to this question is Strange. I think the ranks currently say Fannin. I think I'd have a slight lean to Fannin just on volume. But man, I hope the right answer is Strange. I have more invested in him.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that because I am in agreement that it's like I think that if doing my ranking, like I have them, and if I had to push the button and I picked both people up at my disposal, it's not like I rostered anyone out the entire time. I think I would start Fannin, but I think I feel more comfortable with Strange, which is probably not a helpful answer.
So that's the thing with Strange. It's just, I mean, whether
it's got to be
be like this or not, the Jaguars are just one of those offenses right now, right? Like for the last month and a half. And if you just want the tiebreaker to be, which is the team that's almost certainly going to get to like 27 points, 30 points, 35. I mean, that's the Jags.
Yep.
Would you consider one, and Andy, if you could answer this one, would you consider Fannin or Strange the better floor option versus ceiling option, or is there a case to be made that they're both ceiling and floor plays for their respective teams?
I mean, I think the ceiling for Strange in a game. I mean, nobody's been able to stop the Jags. The Jags are rolling, and I don't expect the Colts to be able to stop the Jags. So, I think Strange has the ceiling here, and I think Fannin's floor comes from the fact that Shedeur is just not looking to throw the ball more than 5 yards down the field, and Fannin operates really well exactly where Shedeur is looking to target some, right? Like, it's just Fannin is the guy who could get 10 or 12 targets. I don't think that's out there for Strange, but Strange is the guy who could score 2 touchdowns.
All right. Let's get to our next question here. JT, let me throw it to you. From Epic, 3P1C fail. My opponent has Nakobe Dean in his lineup. Should I try and pick up Jahad Campbell or Taylor Bernard to play? I do have Bernard at ranked higher. So why don't you go first, and then I'll give my take here.
Yeah, I think Dean is out. So, yeah, I pick up Campbell to block him if you can, so he can't get him. I'm pretty close on those guys. I think I also have Bernard just slightly ahead of Campbell. But, yeah, I guess it depends on whether you think he's going to try to pick either one of them up. But, I think all the leagues I have Dean in, it says he's not going to play today. So, but probably Bernard is the better floor play just because Campbell, they might blitz him a little bit more. Tackle volume might be a little lower.
That's exactly where I was going to go with that. Like, he has been utilized both as an edge rusher as well as an off-ball linebacker. And so the sack upside definitely leans to more of a ceiling play, whereas the floor play goes to Bernard. Hope that helps that one. Let's go to the X Machine. Who to start, Hill, Waller, or Warren in a half-point PPR? Kyle, let's go around the frames and start with you.
Yeah, I'm going to go Taysom Hill here. You guys know how I feel about Darren Waller. He's just a red zone guy to me. Tyler Warren, can't trust it with Rivers. I'm going to go Taysom Hill. I mean, like we talked about it earlier. When they get inside the red zone or goal line, I don't see why they don't just quarterback sneak it with them if they get to the 1 yard line, and do a little tush push with Taysom Hill. He's going to score. So I would go Taysom Hill.
What about you, Andy?
Yeah, I've got Taysom Hill here. I'm again, this is one that I'm doing it myself. Like, I've got a Warren Hill choice. At this point, I feel like with Warren, I'm not even going to feel that bad if he somewhat randomly pops this week, because it's just been too rough for too long. I admire what Phillip Rivers has done, but this is not viable, sustainable offense over the long term. And not that they're looking at it long term, whatever. But I just don't see I don't see a blow up game from Warren. Hasn't happened in forever. I can't imagine it now. And again, Taysom, even in a modest projection, you still got to give him like 5 or 6 carries, 4 or 5 targets. I mean, that's a great setup for a tight end eligible player.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you guys. I'm Taysom Hill. JT, are you? You don't have Brenton Strange as an option, so you don't have to pivot there. So
it makes it easier, right? I'm Hill here. I'm Hill. I just think he's got an opportunity for more touches, so I'm Hill over the other two.
Thank you. That was Show Me Your TD is his name. So thank you. Good morning. Welcome.
Alrighty. Sit one. Ooh, I like these ones. Higgins, Diggs, or Travion.
Oh boy,
that's a tough one. So again, like I was telling you about and Andy, you'll love this one, as we were talking about this earlier. The sick thoughts keep entering my head that this Admiral Akbar situation with Travion Henderson, it's a trap. Like the guy just cleared protocol. Like, how much are they really going to need him in this game in the second half? Do they salt it away with him? Do they salt it away with Ramondre? Like, there's something odd in this matchup here that makes me a little bit scared of Travion. Now, I'm not saying don't start Travion if you don't have any better option, right? But like, there's something I'm not feeling too good about.
Well, they still got to get to the salted away part of the game, and
sure.
the path to getting there probably involves Travion, right? You're talking about like, the Jets are just like a freaking ghost ship right now on defense. There's nothing left. It's all hollowed out. Like there are going to be a handful of big play opportunities for Travion. Whatever you think the second half of this game is going to look like, I think he gets it done in the first half. I'd go Higgins over Diggs. I like every name attached to this question, though.
I do too. I bounce back and forth. And Jorge, can I add that the second reference to Akbar? And each time I think you say Adderall Akbar, and all I can picture is him all Adderalled up and freaking out. Running around, it's a trap! Freaking out, vacuuming, and getting a bunch of stuff done.
like Gonzo from Sesame Street, just going all.
That's all I picture.
Adderall Akbar. Yes, I love it.
Sorry.
All right, let's go here to Robin Boys. Do I start Taysom Hill? First is his first question. Do I start Taysom Hill? Without any context? Yes. Now here he has some context here. Do I start Taysom Hill, Gesicki, or Michael Mayer? For me, it's Taysom Hill. Anybody else disagree with this? Nope.
Nope.
No, but I don't hate Gesicki.
I get the argument for Mayer, but man, we're talking about like getting. I'm comparing him to a Saints player, and maybe we shouldn't get that excited about being proactive with the Saints. But I can't imagine leaning into the Raiders' offense right now and just trying to find new and creative ways to tie yourself to Vegas.
No. Nate, I believe it was to Kyle's point. Badger has a question: half PPR, Taysom Hill or Parkinson? Did see a report from a beat writer that the usage last week was because it was his last home game, apparently. Does that scare you off, Taysom Hill, at all, or Parkinson? Never mind. I think it's Taysom Hill in this situation. Kyle, what are your thoughts?
I'm right there with you. All right, Taysom Hill.
JT?
I think I know what you were talking about, Jorge, because I mentioned how the Rams, everybody picked up Parkinson thinking he was going to get all this volume. And the truth is, the Rams run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel with all these multiple different tight ends that they use. So they were, it was wrong call to do Parkinson because they have total 3 tight ends that they can use. So that was I think that's where you were thinking of, Jorge. But yeah, I would go Taysom Hill because of that. With Parkinson, I would go Hill.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm even willing to believe that, last week really was a little bit of a send-off to Taysom Hill. So you have to, but even if you factor in, okay, how much are they going to dial it back? It's still difficult to come up with anything less than, again, 5 carries, 5 targets. And that's just a recipe for a great week.
And Kyle, as you said it, banged up at the position, albeit if they have Aldrich Estime that can step in and quote unquote play the role. I think that it's proven that even if it was a send-off, it wasn't a send-off for a player that wasn't productive with the touches. And Taysom Hill with touches is productive. Might not have gotten in the end zone as much or as often as what he's done in the past, which has been at an unsustainable clip. But very few people get that many opportunities in, like Andy said, goal to go or within the red zone or just in high value times. So I don't want to move him up any higher. I don't know how much higher I could move him up because I do see a case for that was maybe a helium type usage, but I don't think it is. I really don't. I think that's pretty much what we're going to see today. And yeah, we're finding, like you said, we're finding so many ways to not go towards the Vegas Raiders or multiple of the teams, and yet consensus it is. I'm banging the drum for Taysom Hill and excited to watch him get 2 carries for 3 yards and finish with 0.1.
But you know what, Nate? All the tight ends in his general area are they could go 3 catches for 30 yards or 3 catches for 40 yards. So why not roll the dice on a guy like Taysom Hill, who we have seen over and over get multiple touchdowns in a game?
That's how I feel. Again, in a week without Bowers and Kittle, there is a single guy. It's Trey McBride, end of list. Are the guys that can really put up a day for you without a touchdown. Everybody else, we're chasing touchdowns this week.
Right.
Yeah, it's That's championship week for you. It's exactly what we envisioned. We knew this going in. So we asked a question earlier. Do you feel that the four of us had a chance to talk about it at least? Andy, if fantasy leagues moved the championship back to the week 16 spot to account for we're seeing more and more teams that are out of the race sitting their players instead of the teams that are in the race and positioned, because that's becoming more challenging than it was. Less teams have that guaranteed number one spot with this, and certain teams are out. Would you be for, against, indifferent, or would you ever play in a league that goes to week 18?
No, I avoid leagues that go through 18 because I mean, there's a difference between like the very best teams in the league sitting their guys, which is what we tend to encounter in week 18, and like this problem where some of the teams that are soft tanking or quietly tanking are sitting some guys, because these are not elite offenses, and it is a real pain that Brock Bowers is sitting this week in a week in which he could probably go. But whatever. At least we got last week. At least he got home last week, and we don't have to, we don't have to deal with it as like a game day surprise or anything like that. Selfishly, would I love to have the whole thing wrapped up in week 16 and it could just be like it used to be, and I get a normal Christmas? Yeah, I'd love that. But I don't think that's where we're headed. I think most major fantasy platforms are going to try to keep people hanging on and clicking and viewing content as long as they can.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I would love to see. Here's why I brought this up, and maybe I'm totally off on this. I would love to see him even out the bye weeks. In the bye weeks, the week before Thanksgiving, because they do that Thanksgiving week where no one has bye. Then you come back and have a bunch of bye weeks the week after. I'd love to see him even out, have bye weeks and by Thanksgiving. That way you could end the season in week 16 as far as fantasy is concerned. You want to go to 17, you can, but you can knock it back a week. I think it would be way better just for championship week. Plus, then you can concentrate on Christmas, do your thing, watch the games, root for your teams, not have to worry about fantasy. It's just this week of like, okay, Christmas Day, then the next day on Saturday. Oh, are the guys going to play Sunday? Are they going to play Monday? It's just a mess of trying to pick up guys, drop guys. You end up having to play. I played a ton of guys I would not usually play, but just because they played on Christmas and on Saturday, because I was like, all these guys were questionable. I'm like, if Luther Burden doesn't play Sunday night, I'm screwed because I don't have anyone else to play, because all the guys that were backing him up that would have played already played before that. So that's my biggest complaint, is they spread all these days out, which is fun for like the holidays. You get all these great games, get to watch it, but it sucks for trying to set up fantasy lineups for the championship. So I'd love to see it move back before Thanksgiving, and then boom, you could technically end your championships in week 16.
I would certainly like to see the NFL smooth out the buys. Like, I don't know. It seems crazy to me that we have 16 buys, that we have, buys extending all the way to week 14. Like, that's just not, obviously that's a pain fantasy wise when you're trying to qualify for the playoffs. And when you have like 30 or teams sitting in Scott Fishbowl in week 14 in the playoffs, right? Like, that's bad. But it's also, that's just a pretty terrible time to have a bye as an actual NFL team. That's a long time without one.
Indeed. We got a couple questions here in the chat. Full PPR, Tongas, Meyer, or Hill. Kyle, does George Kittle potentially being out or as highly unlikely to play as Adam Schefter put it an hour ago sway you to his backup, or is it still Taysom Hill?
It's still Taysom Hill for me. I know Tonjas has played very well in Kittle's absence, but he just feels more touchdown dependent to me than Taysom Hill.
You right on board with that, Andy?
I would have Hill here as well. I do want to give Tongas had like the catch of the year last week, and it didn't count. And I understand why it was ruled incomplete on the field, because nobody could friggin' believe he caught that ball. But that guy's good.
Yeah.
Like, that guy's a legit player. I still have Hill because there are so many paths to a touchdown, and he's just such a weird, quirky player who. I mean, he's one of the few guys at the position that can realistically touch the ball 12 times, 15 times. That we just don't get a lot of that. So I would play Hill here. If I can throw one other name into the mix that I have not seen in a question yet, and I actually think he's like I wouldn't start him over Hill. Don't get me wrong, and I wouldn't start him over Tongas, but Elijah Higgins is pretty interesting. And he's coming off a 91-yard game with a bunch of catches, and he plays Cincinnati. And how many games have we seen this year where it's not just the number one tight end, but secondary supporting tight ends go off against Cincinnati too? I think he's in a good spot.
It's been every game except for one, which is Baltimore. And somehow the team that actually had
when everybody played Isaiah Likely, I told everybody to play Isaiah Likely, and he freaking bobs.
I told people to start both. There was a guy at work.
But again, that was they threw the ball 12 times.
I know, it was the weirdest.
A weird face plan of a game from Cincinnati. Yeah.
I felt better about don't get me wrong, people don't, like my buddy Andy at work, when he asked about starting Andrews and so-and-so or Andrews and Likely, and I was like, I'm starting both those tight ends. When I explained to him, but it was a wonky setup. Look, there was only throwing the ball 12 times. He didn't really care. I mean, he understood though, but he knows football, and he saw that it was just strange. But yeah, Cincinnati, kind of what we had planned for going in, except there's enough volume for both of them. That is a good name.
Got a question here from Andrew Williams, 4005. Charbonnet, a.k.a. better matchup, TD Vulture and Miracle 2-point conversion, or Samson, who had a questionable tag? Charbonnet, right? I mean, is that – yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Sorge. The answer is yes, Charbonnet. He scored 3 out of the last 5 weeks. But I just want to say that Samson, if he does play, will get a heavy volume for the Browns, but it is a very, very tough matchup for Dylan Sampson. So the answer is still Charbonnet by a hair, but I just wanted to point out the fact that Samson, if he does play, will get a lot of volume.
Samson's active, by the way, so Samson's gonna play. But he's he also has Sanders to contend with. There's a very real chance that they only score one offensive touchdown, right? And is that going to be Dylan Sampson? So I'd go Charbonnet.
Yeah, true.
All right, got another one here from Colin Doe. I'm not even going to try that. Tonjes or Loveland if Kittle is out, both kind of TD dependent. Andy, let's start with you.
Yeah, they're totally TD dependent. I would play Loveland. I think Loveland has a chance to be a star long term, and I think he's looked really great. And I know he's had some disappointing spots when you thought he might pop, but still in a week without a Dunze, it moves him up the target hierarchy just a little bit. I'd lean Loveland here, but I like everything that I've seen from Tongas as well.
All right. I think that wraps us up for questions, Nate.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously I'm rooting for all of you lucky souls that are playing for a fantasy championship. I get the benefit of just laying around and watching.
Hey, you're taking on me in Fantasy and Frames third place game since Kyle put it to me.
Dude, if you know,
still can't believe I got the Purdy Kittle double time beat down on Monday night. Yeah, that one hurt.
Yep. Unfortunately, it was the Alec Pierce and Jonathan Taylor. That was Pianowski had both of them. And the sad thing is, with the whole options at flex between Knox and Parker Washington and everybody, excuse me, everybody on my bench outscored Dawson Knox, but only Parker Washington was the only one that really would have had enough points because I lost by 4.5 points. So he was the only one. And I really wasn't considering Parker Washington. I was, but I wasn't. He wasn't in my top 3 options. So I don't feel horrible about it.
And Knox had a TD drop, right?
Yes.
I'm not making that up.
I didn't. Yeah. You text me that and I missed it. So it made me feel really good to know that
glad I could be there for you.
Won. Yeah. I was like, oh, thanks. That's helpful. I was like, and then of course the Bears come back and I win my big bet as a result. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything about the Bears. It's been every week I've sent Andy a text about the Bears in the fourth quarter, like clockwork, and maybe it'll continue on going forward. But
got one more, Kyle. Badger says, just saw Kincaid available. Would you still start Taysom Hill over?
Wow. Yeah,
Dalton
with the amount of Taysom Hill answers that I'm giving, you would think that I have like Taysom Hill tight end 2 for the week. But yeah, I'm going Taysom Hill over Kincaid. You know, we see Buffalo, they use all their tight ends. You know, Dawson Knox, you guys talked about it earlier, can steal a touchdown from Kincaid. I'll take the tight end who's going to get the more of the volume. I'll go Taysom Hill.
And we got Debro in the chat from Fantasy Pros. Happy Sunday, guys. Have a great one.
Yeah, what up,
You
Debro?
as well. You as well. Oh, wait. Still got a couple questions here. Start 2. Pollard, Carter, Burden, Waddle.
Man, Pollard's been good.
Pollard's been so good.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd have Pollard and Waddle here.
Agreed. JT, JT, why don't you take this one? Purdy or Stafford this week?
Oh, that's a toughie. I think I'm taking Stafford. I know everything's going on. Purdy coming off the huge game. I think the Bears defense is better than Atlanta's defense. And every time I've sat Stafford, I feel like it's burned me this year. It's like I play him every week, and then like one time I get smart and I'm like, I'm going to play Baker Mayfield over him. I'm like, why did I do that? So I'm sticking with Stafford. The guy's had a hell of a year. I know it hurts to sit Purdy, but I like Stafford.
Andy, you got a question here. Thoughts on London? Worried for waiting for Monday night. Waddle and Burden would be only other options. What are your thoughts here? Would you put Waddle in if you were concerned about London and just roll with Waddle and Burden this week?
Yeah, I mean it does seem like London's gonna play. I'm not really worried about that. The worry is it's gonna look just like a week ago, and that that wasn't just a I don't know, get your feet wet kind of game. That was actually more like, remember when Ricky Pearsall came back from the same injury earlier this year, and he just wasn't himself. That might be where we're at with Drake London. So I actually think it's fine to go Jalen Waddle here, even with a lousy quarterback. I think they are close enough that is perfectly acceptable.
All right, we got Ivan in the chat. Start Pierce or Dowdle full PPR. Kyle.
Now we're back. Now
That's a real question right here. And this is Alec Pierce, I'm assuming.
I'm assuming, yes.
Yeah. Or Rico Dowdle. I'm gonna ride Rico Dowdle. He's been getting the volume there in Carolina. I'll go Rico Dowdle. I'm not gonna chase Alec Pierce again for another 2 touchdown game.
Nate,
That was a great stall tactic by you, by the way. Is that that's Alec Pierce, right? Is that
I had to give myself a minute to think, right?
Well, Damian Pierce's game's already over, so clearly it's not right.
Andy calling me out.
I know how that game's played. Yeah,
exactly. No, I'm right there with you. Even though you would have to find some. I don't want to call Alec Pierce a bad option, but for as bad as Rico Dowdle's looked the last couple weeks, it wouldn't take much to sway me away from him. But a Phillip Rivers led offense with, granted, 2 touchdowns and production, I still don't trust the safety of. It's not PPR driven. I'm not seeing Alec Pierce going to catch get eight balls his way. I'm looking deeper nothing. So I'm going to lean grossly towards Dowdle.
All right. Well, I think that wraps us up, gentlemen.
I do. I think it wraps us up for the NFL season as a whole. It's been, I can't believe it. I mean, maybe we'll jump in for anybody that does any like playoff fantasy leagues. Maybe we'll all get together and do some playoff talk about some of those specific leagues. There's so many different variables of those. I love so many different ones. RT Sports has a bunch of good ones that I play every year that are just easy, enjoyable. And maybe we'll send something out to the Twitter sphere or X sphere or whatever and get everybody in together for one of those so we can chat. But Kyle, JT, Jorge, and Andy, of course, I can't thank you guys enough for coming on every Sunday morning and talking for let's see, what is 3 times 17? So 51 hours roughly of this football season. We've talked Sunday mornings. And if anything, there's 767 people that are either bored and have nothing better to do or actually in fantasy championships as a small remote amount of our efforts. So everybody kind of go around and say your maybe not final goodbyes, but at least your goodbyes. JT, thank you. And
Yeah, good luck to everybody in the championships. Also, those people in the third place games. And if you don't have your toilet bowl playing for a pick
quit.
or the number one pick, an extra pick in your draft, or the number one pick, fix that in your leagues. Keeps people involved all year round to the very end. I'm a big proponent of fighting for the number one spot, also the extra first or second round pick. So I'm in a few of those, which also keeps those leagues kind of fun. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to the offseason, talking all the draft stuff, everything coming on with prospects. Looking forward to the mock drafts we're going to be doing on Fantasy and Frames. So a lot of off-season content coming from me. And if you are a member of DLF, you can find all my stuff over there too. I write a ton of running back incoming rankings, prospect rankings, and then all that stuff once the draft actually happens. So I have all my stuff over there, as well as my Devies rankings, my IDP rankings, and my rookie IDP rankings will be coming out here in the spring as well.
Very nice.
Andy?
Man, rookie IDP rankings, that's some sicko stuff right there. That is true sicko stuff. That's crazy. No, I just want to thank all you guys for having me on this year. This has been a blast. Love this community. This has been a really fun addition to my year, and I have appreciated you all. Also, like, just as a general piece of fantasy advice to people who are galaxy braining right now, I would just, treat this week as much as you can as if it's just like week 8, as if this is October, as if this, make normal decisions. Don't do the things that got you here. Don't do anything crazy just because there's like a thrill of the unknown factor in championship week.
Exactly. No.
Kyle, before we get to your goodbye, do you want to answer this question we got in the chat real quick?
Sure. Due to telltale news, should I flex Godwin or Strange instead? Tight end super flex. Interesting, tight end super flex. I usually don't like to flex out another tight end. But Godwin or Strange. You know what? I'm not scared of Tet's illness. I'm gonna ride it. We'll call this like a Michael Jordan flu game. We'll go with Tet McMillan in this one.
Nice. Anything you want to say to the folks out there?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you, Andy, for me being able to talk with you a few times here. It's been a blast. Love working with you, talking ball with you. That was a great time for the few times that we did. So I appreciate that. Also, stay tuned for, if you're a dynasty player, I do a lot, like Jorge mentioned earlier. I do a lot of dynasty risers and fallers in the off season. I'll probably take a month off, but then I'll get right back to it and I'll get on the risers and fallers and just look at fantasyandframes.com. Stay tuned for that. And I know Jorge's got a lot of other things to talk about as well with the new things that he's got brewing up in his big old brain there. But yeah, check us out, fantasyandframes.com. I'll probably start, March or April. I'll start into the dynasty risers and fallers.
And I just want to thank all of you, Nate, for hosting, for being here for what feels like 10 years, coming close to it this coming July. Just words can't describe how much I appreciate you, and JT and Kyle. The work you guys have done year in and year out has been tremendous, and the effort you guys put in, as well as everybody else at Fantasy and Frames, I can't speak highly enough of. And Andy, it took a couple drinks to work up the courage at the expo to be like, hey, so feel free to say no to this, which is probably not the best selling point to start off with something when you're trying to convince somebody to feel free to say no. But asking you if you wanted to come on our pregame show on Sundays, and you saying, yeah, that meant the world to me, man. So just wanted to say thank you for making some time for us. And
fortunately, I had also had a couple drinks. And I was just saying yes to everything.
Nice.
But do we have a little buyer's remorse there, Andy?
Certainly not.
Let's not put that thought in his head. But hopefully we can get the gang together next year. And folks, again, thank you very much for supporting us here on all of our podcasts, all of our shows, following us on all our social media channels, heading over to fantasyandframes.com and checking out our rankings and checking out our articles, and to what everyone's been saying. Give us a week, and then we're going to be right back into dynasty mode. We got a brand new mock draft show starting pretty soon. To what Nate was saying, definitely going to do some playoff leagues and still continue to talk shop through the playoffs. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then we got, Dynasty articles, we got podcasts, we got a lot of stuff coming your way that we hope you enjoy. And we just appreciate you all tuning in each and every week to, help support us. And it really means the world to us that you all are here. And so thank you very much for all your support.
Cool. So for everybody, best of luck. Go get those championships. We'll see you next year.
Yeah, that works. Okay. See you, folks.